How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final genocide. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final sweet dreams are made of these. Who am I to disagree? Travel the world and the seven seas. Everybody's looking for something. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to get used by you. Some of them want to use you. Some of them want to be out you.
Won't anybody help us? What are we running for? When there's nowhere we can run to anymore. We can't afford to be innocent. Stand up and face the enemy. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible. And with the power of conviction, there is no sacrifice. It's a do or die situation. We will be invincible.
Who the fuck is Karlyn? She's just some sweet lady. She's like in a knitting. She does like a knitting stream. She's like a knitting YouTuber. She does knitting.
Can we grow up a little bit and
Alt
not
Girl
be
sent $200.
retarded?
Have you
Please.
seen the work of Karlyn Borysenko? Anti-commie cult leader and is obsessed with looking at what actual far-left communists are talking about and organizing today, infiltrating them. They infiltrated the universities, schools, media. She has the receipts to back it up. Primary source evidence. Infestation is dire and she calls Republicans idiots eating slop. Agree.
Thank you for the big super chat. Yeah, oh, I know Karlyn B. She's solid. She's funny. I
The
like
great
her.
noticer sent $200.
Literally,
So
not
it's,
Ian.
it's not because I haven't dangled my junk into the combat zone on purpose to get some camera footage, but that's the big part of what's the
Is
problem.
that what you call reporting?
Go
and live
under if
streaming?
you're going to do it.
Yeah,
go
seriously.
undercover. Otherwise, you're wearing a hunk of meat in a lion's den. Nick Shirley, I love you. Take care of yourself, man. Karlyn Borysenko went undercover. Do stuff like that. Like if you want to expose this thing, don't pariah, please.
But Ian, here's and I agree with you to an extent.
I watch these streams, and I've been watching a self-professed fascist named Karlyn, who drinks and basically roasts these live streams. But weirdly, she has apparently embedded herself with Antifa before, and so it's such a funny stream because
So they tolerate her?
oh no, not anymore. She no. She's I mean, I don't know if she's trolling or not, but on her stream, she's like, I am a fascist.
Right.
So she's proudly proclaiming she's a fascist. I don't know how much of that is trolling, how much of it is real, but conservatives who are drawn to her stream will say things like, these people are funded by George Soros. And it's the funniest thing because she gets so mad. And she's like, get off fucking Fox News. Stop watching that shit. It's all wrong. Do these people look funded? Do these people look like they have money? They're not funded. It's so, and I guess her bigger point is by saying these are funded agitators and not saying what they actually are, which is anti-capitalist revolutionaries, you dilute what's really happening. Because what's really happening, according to her, and I think a fair amount of people, is that the economy is so fucked. The middle class is diminishing so much. The cost of living is so high that this is the perfect soil you need if you wanted communism to grow anywhere.
Hey, listen. I'm not late. You guys are early. That's the way this works. I'm not late. A wizard is never late, nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to. That is exactly correct. That is exactly correct. The mic is on. You guys can hear me. Right? There are no technical difficulties. Is there some microphone related problem that I don't know about? We're all on time. Everyone's on time. Everyone being on time. W to Nick for sending the first gifted channel membership of the day. We've got one gifted channel membership so far. We're going to try to get up to 100 today. We'll see how it goes. Thank you for starting us off strong, Nick. You guys can't hear me? You can't hear me? You can't hear me? I'm not muted. Wait, are you guys, are you, okay, fuck you assholes. I can see the volume thing working on the StreamYard. But I hate you guys. You guys suck. I have the worst community on YouTube. Old sub, thank you so much for the super chat. I haven't gotten any takers for the stickers yet. How about I give the first 10 free with it? Yo, old sub, that's super generous. Guys, if you want some awesome stickers, reach out to old sub. He will send them to you. They're really fucking cool. He sent me a whole pile. I think he has a slightly different sticker design now, but please reach out to Old Sub. I love that Old Sub is doing the stickering. Old Sub, make sure you put your Twitter link or wherever you want people to contact you in the chat. You know what? I love that Old Sub took it upon himself to make stickers. And Old Sub, what I will tell you, my friend, is that sometimes it just takes a minute for people to kind of realize what's going on. I've done many things like this where people told me they were real excited about it, and then I started doing it, and I didn't hear from anyone. And then people slowly started to trickle in. So please keep doing what you're doing, Old Sub, and we'll get there. We're going to build some momentum for you. Sometimes things just need to have a little momentum built behind it, and it's all good. But thank you so much for the super chat, my friend. I really do appreciate it. Listen, I don't have an excuse for being late today other than I was having a dog-related emergency, and I was tending. The dog was barking at something. I went downstairs to go calm down the dog. There was a dog-related emergency. It, of course, resulted in a hair in my mouth. It, of course, resulted in the dog getting a treat. because that's the only way I know to shut up my dog. And this is probably why the dog was having a meltdown, because the dog knows that if he starts barking at something and I go downstairs to investigate what the fuck's going on, and then I look outside and I see that there's nothing there, he's going to get a treat because it's the only way to settle him down. So that's really my own dog is fucking with me, is what's going on. My own dog is using my own good nature against me, and also my desire to immediately find a solution to the problem, which is to give the dog a fucking treat and to allow the dog to be happy. Yeah, I was, giving the dogs kisses, but that was actually my hair. That was from my head. I do have a lot of hair now, as we know. Anyway, welcome guys. Welcome to the show. We made it. We got a good show today. We're going to be doing some socialism. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to be watching a presentation. I feel like I have had this presentation on the list to watch forever. I don't remember if we've watched it or not. We may have watched this because I feel like I've had this presentation on my list to watch forever. This is a presentation from the People's Forum. The People's Forum is connected with the Party for Socialism and Liberation and the Answer Coalition and Code Pink and all those people and Breakthrough News. The People's Forum is an actual venue in New York City where they host far-left socialist events and talks and things like that. And they're involved in all the pro-Palestine organizing, and you often see them showing up organizing protests, especially those ones taking place in New York City and all of that. So the reason I keep coming back to this is, of course, it has one of our favorite communists, Emmy O'Brien. Emmy O'Brien is a queer Marxist, abolish the family communist, and I really have tried my best to watch pretty much everything from Emmy O'Brien that I can find on video, because Emmy O'Brien is insane. I did see you send me something, Red Menace Guru. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet, but I promise you I will take a look at it when I have an opportunity. So Emmy O'Brien is insane. And so we like watching Emmy O'Brien. Also, Emmy O'Brien is best friends with Sophie Lewis. Emmy O'Brien is probably our second favorite communist next to Sophie Lewis, because both of them say insane things. So Emmy O'Brien is on this panel, but it is not about abolish the family. It's called Commune or Nothing, Communes Against Capitalism. And essentially, this is a panel to discuss what their kind of ideal communal environment looks like. And the reason I want to watch this is people come into the chat all the time and they say, okay, Karlyn, well, what do socialists want then? They want to overthrow capitalism. They want to abolish the government. What do they want? What comes after that? And I say, communism, duh. And that's not a good enough answer. And so I want to watch the presentation so that you guys can hear directly from the socialists what they want. They're talking about what they want. They're talking about how to build their communal life to remove capitalism from the experience. So this should be a really accurate presentation. Thank you, Old Sub, for the super chat. Please, guys, DM Old Sub on X, Old Sub Sailor 63, if you would like some stickers. Old Sub, also make sure you're seeing all your DMs, because sometimes people send DMs and they go into like a requested ether filter that Twitter sets up. So not all your DMs end up actually in your inbox. Make sure you're checking the requested inbox, the secret inbox on Twitter, and you might find that some people have DM'd you and it didn't come into your inbox. This happens to me like all the time. So make sure you're doing that as well. Appreciate you doing that very, very, very much. Thank you, Old Sub. You're the best. Let's read the presentation description. This virtual panel will examine the commune and communal organizing as part of the project of revolutionary social transformation. What socialists and communists in the United States are trying to do, guys, is they are trying to transform social relations. They're trying to transform how people relate to one another. This is, if you think about like the idea of abolish the family, one of the reasons they want to abolish the family is something called social reproduction theory. Social reproduction theory is the idea that social systems will reproduce themselves until that reproduction is disrupted. So if you live in a capitalist environment, as we do, because we have private property ownership, that is the left's definition of capitalism. If you live in a capitalist environment, you are probably being raised in a capitalist family with capitalist values The nuclear family is also called the capitalist family. That's what they believe. They believe that the nuclear family reproduces capitalism by having children and raising them with capitalist values and sending them out into the capitalist system where they become the next round of oppressed workers. And until the nuclear family is disrupted, the system of capitalism will continue to reproduce itself. But this is not just true of the nuclear family. It's true of every aspect of society. We have a certain way of socially relating to each other. We relate to people differently based on whether or not we are like related by that to them, like biologically related to them. We relate to people differently at work. We relate to people differently at school, at church, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What socialists and communists want to do is they want to transform social relationships. They want to transform fundamentally the way we relate to each other in order to, and again, I'm saying what they believe. I'm not saying what I believe. I'm telling you what they believe. They want to disrupt the reproduction of the system of capitalism by fundamentally having a revolutionary social transformation in society. That means transforming the way that human beings relate to one another. That is fundamentally what undoing capitalism to them and instilling communism is about. It's not about seizing the means of production, although they will do that. It's not even just about abolishing all private property ownership, although they will do that. But it is about fundamentally transforming the way human beings relate to one another. They are very literally trying to redo human nature or what they would probably consider evolve human nature. They're trying to change human nature in order to fit their communal world. Thank you for the super chat, H. Tom. Appreciate you. An interesting book is Looking Backward, a Rip Van Winkle story about socialist utopia. It was written by Edward Bellamy, uncle of Francis Bellamy, the socialist preacher who wrote the Pledge of Allegiance. We should definitely look into that. I had never heard of that one, H. Tom. I really do appreciate that. What an awesome suggestion. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate you. Would the phrase found family be a part of that? Yes, or family of choice. Now, listen, the idea of a family of choice is not just relegated to the far left. This is a concept that you can deal with in a number of circumstances where, we all develop families of choice. Everyone in society develops a family of choice. We all have people that we are so close to. Maybe some people have more of these than others, but we all have people that we get so close to that they feel like our family. They feel like they are the ones we rely on. They are the ones that if something happens to us, they're going to fucking bail us out of jail, or they're going to let us borrow money if the shit really hits the fan, or they're just always going to be there to get you out of whatever situation that you're in. We all have these kind of families of choice. So I don't want people to think that this is just about socialism or queer Marxism or abolishing the family. We all have that. But certainly the idea of pushing a family of choice in society, it is being pushed from the far left because they don't want you to see your biological family as your only family. They want you to basically be able to choose your family. It's kind of like a thing related to polyamory too, where it's you can choose to be in a relationship with more than one person. You can live in a communal polyamorous household where you're in a throuple and different people have kids with different things. It's just so they do use that term. I just don't want people to think that that is the only place that's used, because that's not at all the only place. Yeah, your family of choice. You can call them at 3 a.m. Exactly. They're going to pick up you. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Okay. Let's continue to read this. The speakers addressed how socialist communes can be used to abolish capitalism's logic based on the exploitation of human being and the expropriation of nature, along with a range of oppressions, including racial, gender, sexual, and colonial oppression in a capitalist society. So people want to know what happens after the left abolishes capitalism? All right. I got ya. And we're going to listen to this today. Mizakan says, chosen family redistribution, hoarded resources to others outside of biological kinship. This is another great point, because one of the things that this is why it's so valuable to have. This is why Mizakan can say whatever he wants in the chat at any time, because he has a wealth of information and knowledge. One of the reasons they don't like the nuclear family is because they believe the nuclear family hoards resources. It hoards property, money, whatever, to make some families have better conditions, better material conditions than other people. And so the whole idea of abolishing private property is that everyone has access to all the resources. So if you have resources just based on the family that you're born into, if you have better insurance or more money or a better house or more land or stuff like that, then you are still going to be in an oppressor-oppressed hierarchy, because it is the property owners who are the oppressors. It is the non-property owners who are the oppressed. When you get rid of the nuclear family and everyone only has a chosen family, that is the redistribution of the resources that used to be for the exclusive use of people within the nuclear family. I think I articulated that correctly. Thank you, Mizakan, for that. I appreciate it. So we're going to be doing that. But before we get into it, I have a couple other short orders of business that I want to take care of. Number one, please make sure you're following me on Instagram. The reason that you want to make sure you are following me on Instagram is if you actually want to see short form content that I'm posting, this is going to be the very best platform to do it. Twitter doesn't show my YouTube shorts to almost anyone. X is a colossal disappointment. Can I show you guys something? I posted this video on Instagram 2 fucking days ago. It has 316,000 views on Instagram. This is just the story of how I started going undercover with Antifa. I posted the video on YouTube. It got maybe 1,000 views or something ridiculous like that. I never expect YouTube to show my content to people. It is absolutely fucking ridiculous how few people who are subscribed to me actually see my content. It is what it is. And some people, see, here's the thing though. Here's the thing that really pisses me off. Some people might say, well, Karlyn, your content sucks and that's why it's not getting shown to people. Okay, well then how do you explain to me that it has 316,000 views on Instagram when on Instagram I only have 23,000 followers? And by the way, 13,000 of those followers have been picked up in the last month, because I started posting short form content to Instagram, because I started realizing Instagram was the only fucking platform that was actually showing my content to my followers. And the reality is that when people see my content, they like it, they comment on it, they share it, they're outraged by it, they are shocked by it. When people are actually shown my content, this is not a problem. It's when I'm shadow banned on fucking websites and they don't show my content to the people who follow me that I get the low view counts. And we can see this clearly. Again, this, you can see it on, well, actually you can't see it on this view on Instagram, but you can see it on my view on my phone. This video has 316,000 views on Instagram, and this is not uncommon, okay? So on YouTube, it has maybe 1,000 or 2 views. On Twitter, where I posted exactly the same video at exactly the same time, exactly the same content, exactly the same caption, it only has, oh, it's up to 9,000 views now. 9,000 views. It had 8,000 views when I first posted this, probably because I retweeted it with this image, which is the only reason this video now has 9,000 views on Twitter. So the thing of it is even though Twitter likes to tell people that they are the free speech platform for independent journalists, and they like to lie to people and say they're promoting original content, they really don't. Because this is completely original content. It's getting a fuck ton of views on other platforms. I don't have this problem on Instagram. I have this problem on Twitter and on X. And so the best advice I can give to people is that if you actually want to see my content, follow me on Instagram. Because on Instagram, you might actually be served my content. Whereas if you follow me on Twitter and you don't have the notifications turned on, you're probably never going to see my content. So if you want to turn on the notifications on Twitter, that would be rad. If you want to follow me there. If you want to turn on notifications on YouTube, that would be rad. You can probably follow me on there. But like, it is shocking to me how many more views I'm getting on Instagram right now, of all places, fucking Meta, Facebook and Instagram. My content is going viral almost every time I post a new video on that platform. So if my content is so bad and so terrible and no one wants to see it, then why in the fuck is it going viral almost every single time I post on Instagram? Why is that happening? See, on Twitter, they would say, well, just no one's interested in your content. That's why it only has 8,000 views. I don't think that's the case. I have 127,000 followers on Twitter. I have 23,000 followers on Instagram. It makes no sense. W's in the chat to Old Sub, throwing in a channel membership. Thank you so much, Old Sub. I really do appreciate you very, very much. So that was the annoying thing that I wanted to talk about. But I mean, Instagram. I'm getting a ton of new traction on Instagram that I never thought I would get. I never really even paid attention to Instagram. I was like posting pictures of myself and doing all this personal shit. And I probably still will do that. But like, I am genuinely shocked. I am genuinely shocked at how many more fucking views I'm getting on Instagram, Meta, Facebook, whatever you want to call it, than I'm getting on Twitter right now. It is mind-boggling. Also, if you want to reply to this and tag that Nikita asshole on Twitter who controls the algorithm and ask him what the fuck is going on here? Why is this only getting 8,000 views on Twitter, but it's getting 316 on, 316,000 on Instagram? Can you guys please reply to this and tag that asshole and demand answers for why you're following me and you can't see my content on X because X refuses to show it to you because it's instead replacing it with pro-Zionist content and Israeli bullshit? That'd be awesome. If you wanted to do that, if you don't, that's fine too. Last thing before we get started, and I know this is everyone's favorite. We're going to be doing this commune thing, and then later tonight, around about the 8:30 hour, because I've learned my lesson about the long intro now. It's going to be the 8:30 hour. We are going to watch another round of the Kino Casino because I am anticipating that the ongoing destruction of Chrissy Mayer and the quartering and everyone involved is going to continue. And as I have been saying, as we have been doing these streams, I am going to enjoy every single second of this. If you don't like the drama content, you don't have to come. You really don't. You don't have to come. But what I do want to do is get a little preview of what we're going to get on the Kino Casino tonight because I haven't watched this yet. And so I want to get a little preview of the Kino Casino. And we're not going to watch the whole thing. It's 20 minutes long, but we'll watch the intro to see what they're going to be talking about tonight. And then we will get into the vegetables for the day and we will watch the commune presentation. And that's what we're going to do. So guys, welcome to the stream. Please make sure you mount the like button if you have not already. I just want to get a little preview of what we got in store for Kino Casino a little bit later. And then we will get down to business. Okay, let's see what these boys, let's see what they're planning.
Quartering exposed in DMs, blackmailing Sydney Watson, everybody, threatening her family and her personal life, and the expose of all this information. Sydney has recordings of quartering, drunk out of his mind, being a creep, lying, God only knows what. But she can't release them because Jer will destroy her entire life. He's silencing victims. He's the Harvey Weinstein of the right wing.
He's crazy.
Sydney Watson, though, starts off this interview by saying that she got into business relationship with two of the same type of man, which is, Elijah Schaefer was sued and fired because he was sexually harassing women. And then in one allegation, physically assaulted a woman. And that's what Sydney Watson is saying quartering is. So
and that they're both alcoholics also.
Yes.
They can't handle running a
and
show.
he's the nice guy, TM, creepy
Yes,
guy.
yes. Oh, I'll
He's
help you,
threatening
honey.
to fight other men for her at the bar. My lady, I'll defend you to conquer you, and all this cringe, creepy shit. He got massively exposed on it. He's just been getting absolutely demolished day after day after day. His gay ops, deleting the Salt Mine channel exposed, having to delete his Twitter. And now he's at the point, folks, where he's groveling. He's begging his audience now to stay. Please, guys, please, I'll get into the article right away in my videos. I know you've been asking for this for years, and I'm not going to do the coffee ads at the beginning anymore, or the sponsors at the beginning. I'm going to get right into the news article. I mean, except for this first minute where I cry and tell you guys about how I'm going to get into the article without actually getting into the article. It's too late, Jer. It's too late, buddy.
Yeah. Hey guys, what is that?
It's over. Please
It's like-
hit
and he's
like.
panicking.
And he says, and he goes, leave a positive comment. Leave a
your video
positive
today,
comment
an
because
hour
I
ago?
need one.
He's like, guys, I see you're hating like. I appreciate that. And please
They
keep
are
hitting
not, in fact, hitting like. And then on his live stream, like, he's become a full-blown lolcow. Like, it's so bad where he's like, you guys, please hit that like button to own the trolls. Every time you hit that like button, a troll cries, and he's like, not that it matters anyway, because he sees that he's still getting ratio, but he's like, we gotta take this away from the trolls, because so then they'll have nothing. And it's so pathetic. And he still gets ratioed anyway. It looks like the bots are gone or like severely minimized, because he yesterday on his Tuesday shows couldn't break 1,000 live viewers.
Wow.
His big claim was, I'm going to be there at 9 a.m. He couldn't wake up for 9. He went live 3.5 hours.
Guys, if you're just joining, we're just getting a little preview of Kino Casino for later tonight. We're only going to watch this for a couple minutes just so people can get a sneak preview of what we're going to be watching later tonight. We are going to be getting into the socialism content. We are going to be serious. I'm just giving people a second to trickle in here, okay? So let me just watch a few more minutes of this. We aren't going to watch the whole video. I just want to get a taste of what we're watching tonight. That's it. This is not live. This is just a preview.
Late. No, that was yesterday. Then today, he managed to only be an hour late. So it's, hey, share. But the desperation is just clear for anyone to see.
So funny, by the way.
He's now doing 3 live streams a day. He's doing a morning stream, an afternoon stream, and a night stream. And yesterday,
what time is the afternoon?
Is the Rumble stream down? What the fuck is going on with the Rumble stream? Okay. I don't have an indication. Okay, I know Rumble can't hear me right now. I do not have an indication on StreamYard that it's down. So this is a Rumble problem. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop the Rumble stream in StreamYard. I'm just gonna restart it real quick. Hang on. And this might let's just stop it. Let's turn it off and turn it back on. Turning it off. We're turning it back on. So hopefully it comes on, but I don't know what's going on because there's no reason. I'm not getting any sort of indication on my end that it's down. So I have to assume this is a Rumble problem. So I'm really, really sorry, Rumble. I'm really sorry if it's down, but like let me put the oh wait, no, that's YouTube. Let me put the okay, people are saying it's working on Rumble. Here is the YouTube link if you guys need it. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm really sorry. I can't control the technical flaws of Rumble, but maybe let's give it in a couple minutes here and we'll see what happens. Hopefully it comes back.
Stream.
2. So he's doing 9 in the morning, which actually was 10 in the morning today, which was 12:30 the day before. Then he's doing 2, in the afternoon. And then he's going live around like 6:30. So, like,
that'll save the business.
Well, this is what he thinks, is if he just like puts out all these Rumble streams. And now he's stopped streaming on YouTube, which is strange. He's only on Rumble.
Okay.
And it's starting to strengthen this argument that he is like an indentured servant under this Rumble contract.
Yeah, for the
and he's
900
really
grand.
worried in about a month to 6 weeks when this contract ends that he's not going to get paid out. We remember when he leaked, in order to own us, his payment history on Rumble, like his dashboard of all of his earnings. And it showed that there was over $900,000 still to be paid out. And it's like, how can this be? Well, the theory floating is that all of his money that he makes from everything for the last number of years has all had to go to Rumble in terms of collateral. So they pay him like monthly $20,000 or whatever it is. And then they hold all of his earnings in perpetuity until he fulfills the obligations of his contract. And it looks like he hasn't been fulfilling the obligations of his contract. So now towards the end of it, he's panicking and doing everything he can to try and either get a renewal of this contract or to get them to release the money. And I don't think they're going to. If that is the case, I don't know why there would be $900,000. It's still never been properly explained.
Okay. So I think we've got a good preview. It looks like it's going to be a quartering heavy night on the Kino Casino. But guess what? I'm still going to watch it. And hopefully they get some more Chrissy Mershid in, and hopefully it just continues to descend into absolute insanity. And so that is what we're going to be watching at about 8:30, guys. And so that is going to be a little bit later on tonight. And we'll be enjoying the inevitable downfall. And again, if you don't like drama, don't come to the stream. There's plenty of content to watch on the internet, guys. And there's a massive archive of socialism content on the channel. So if you just want socialism content, bro, I've got thousands of hours archived of socialism content. So you can go watch some old stuff that maybe you missed the first time. I make a fuck ton of content. So maybe you missed some really good stuff. And so that is what you can do. Well, then you can stay for the socialism content, but we do all sorts of content on the channel. We are a work hard, play hard community. And so that is what we do here. And if you don't like it, hey, you know what? I'm not going to try to please you by only doing content that is socialism. So that's just the way it goes. We do a lot of socialism content on this channel, guys. I, in fact, cover more on the radical revolutionary far left than anyone on the internet. So if you're getting your little feelings in a twist because I watch fun content every now and again to blow off steam, that is a you problem. That's not a me problem. We are going to be getting into the Commune content now, though. So again, this is a presentation that took place at the People's Forum. This is a couple years old. December 7th, 2023. But I still think it's going to be highly relevant. These ideas don't change over time. So I don't think the fact that this was filmed a couple years ago is really going to make like that much of a difference in terms of their overall vision. And again, the purpose of us watching this content is to understand what the left believes. That is the exercise that we are engaging in. We are not here to debunk the left because debunking them does not work. We are not here to use the typical conservative retard talking points like, don't they know real socialism has never been tried? Why don't they move to a socialist country? Why are they buying expensive computers if they don't believe in capitalism? They don't have jobs. They're all narcissists. They're all stupid. They're all lazy. They're all paid protesters. We don't do any of that shit here because none of it's real. None of it's real. This is about understanding the enemy. This is about understanding what the left believes, how they use language, and how they are trying to fuck up our society. And in order to understand, you need to actually sit and listen to them. So we are listening to them today discuss what they are trying to do in creating this commune-like environment in our world. This is going to be a representation of the type of society they want to create after they violently overthrow the U.S. government. Everyone on board? Everyone feel good? One in the chat if you're ready to get started with the socialism content. Two in the chat if you think this is a dumb idea. Let me know. Make sure you mount the like button, guys, if you would be so kind. There's, per usual, a shocking disparity between the number of people watching the stream and the number of people who are liking the video. If you have questions at any point, first of all, please try to make the questions relevant to the presentation, but you're allowed to ask questions at any point. If you come up with a question that you think is not relevant to the presentation, write it down in a notebook, make a note for later. Chances are I might answer the question at some point. But like, I do want people to feel free to ask questions as long as they are good faith questions and they are, you know, ideally relevant to the content we're watching. Especially if you're newer to the channel, especially if this is like all kind of a weird world for you. If you're still learning how to speak their language, I'm happy to break down the terminology, break down the definitions, break down what they mean when they say things. I have watched more of this content than anyone on the planet. I have watched well over 5,000 hours of this content over the years that I've been doing this. I know the left better than anyone. So if you have questions about what they believe, why they do what they do, what they're planning next, ideally, again, related to the presentation we're watching, please do let me know. But let's get this party started and see what they had to say. I think I have to fast forward a little bit because they did a countdown. And, you know, we don't need to sit through that. There we go. There's our countdown. Okay. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kate Gonzalez. I work at the People's Forum as an editor for 1804 Books. If you haven't heard of us before, we are a political cultural community education center based in New York City, but of course we host virtual events as you are tuning in tonight. So we invite you.
I want to just point something out. This person just said she is an editor for 1804 Books. I'm pretty sure that's what she said. 1804 Books. Hang on. Yes. She works at the People's Forum and is an editor for 1804 Books. 1804 Books is the publishing company of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Okay? So one of the things I've tried to impress upon people is that there are a number of ways that the far left makes money. It's not funded by George Soros, guys. The idea that this is all funded by George Soros is fucking stupid. The idea that the People's Forum does have some funding from that guy from the CCP, but that's not the only place they get funding. And anyone who tells you that that is the only place they get funding doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. Data Republican, who doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. That deaf cunt needs to shut her fucking mouth. That deaf cunt needs to be both deaf and dumb, so far as I'm concerned, because Data Republican lies to a lot of fucking people, and she's one of the reasons that people on the right are fundamentally misinformed about what's happening. One of the ways in which the far left makes a ton of money is in book publishing. There are very large socialist book publishers like Haymarket Books, Veriso Books, Pluto Press, PM Press, AK Press. Like they're all these big socialist book publishers. A lot of these smaller socialist groups also have their own publishing company where they publish books that people buy. They run classes using those books, so people have to buy the books for the classes. They run books clubs publishing those books. People have to join them to learn the content and stuff like that. So one of the ways these people make money is by publishing books through their own book publishing company. Okay? So it's just one example. There are all sorts of examples like this. And publishing is one of the biggest money-making things that the left does because it creates an internalized ecosystem where socialists are constantly buying socialist books and socialist education materials and going to socialist classes and doing socialist book clubs and stuff like that. Education is at the focal point of their activism. So book publishing makes a ton of sense. They also feed the books into the colleges and universities where they are taught in the classes. They make a ton of money doing that because, listen, if you can get into colleges and universities, you have classes year over year with how many students being required to buy the book.
And education's political, cultural, community education center based in New York City, but of course we host virtual events as you are tuning in tonight. So we invite you all to take part in the program we've got. We've got online courses, we have movie screenings. We're invested in educating people about working class struggles all over the world and how we can liberate ourselves everywhere. And in that vein, that is why we're very excited to be partnering with Monthly Review for tonight's book talk, Communes or Nothing, Communes Against Capitalism. And, you know, as people who are invested in study, we're not just reading books to learn more and think, oh, you know, that's so interesting. We're trying to build a better world for ourselves and for everyone so that we can all live full, dignified lives. And communes are one way of imagining a world outside of capitalism, imagining an alternative where people can care for each other in new ways that aren't linked to profit, that aren't linked to the destruction of the world. Before I hand it off to Sierra and all of the amazing panelists we have today, I just want to give a quick pitch for an ongoing campaign we have called Shut It Down for Palestine.
No,
amazing...
we're not doing the Palestine pitch. We're not doing that. We're not doing the Palestine fundraising pitch. There we go.
And of course, to Monthly Review, which organized this event, Commune or Nothing, Communes Against Capitalism. Basically, tonight we are going to examine the commune and communal organizing as part of the project for revolutionary transition.
I'm sorry. Did I hear anyone mention Haiti? I don't know why you're bringing up Haiti. Like, no one has said anything about Haiti, so I don't know why that's relevant to the discussion. Again, guys, I know you're new here. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, okay? I'm not trying to make you feel bad. But one of the mistakes that new people make is they make shit up. You're drawing connections where no connection has been made. You've heard something somewhere else, and now you're trying to equate that to what's going on. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm explaining what's happening because I see this all the time. Like, you've got to control the urge to make shit up. No one has said anything about Haiti. Haiti is not in their frame of reference. Haiti is not what they're talking about. Haiti is not related to this.
And thank you also to
average
our
person.
speakers.
Okay. Well, you know what? If average person fucking brought this up, then this is average person's fault. If average person brought this up, then this is average person's fucking fault. Is that what it's related to the book? Okay. Well, that's not what they're talking about. Again, average person, what the fuck? Why are you ruining my shit, average person? So this is not related to Haiti. The talk that we are watching right now is not related to Haiti. Let's be very clear.
Panelists tonight, we have Kalia Kuno, Jan Balimi Foster, Chris Gilbert, and Emmy O'Brien. I am Cira Pascual Marquina. I'm part of the Venezuela analysis team, and I'm also a teacher at the Pluriversidad, which is El Panal Commune's educational initiative. I will talk briefly about our theme because, of course, we are here to hear about from our panelists. But basically, our objective is to learn about the commune from both a theoretical and a practical perspective, right? So how we trace a path to be collectively emancipated, how we put the commune back into communism, that would be also one of our objectives. And so the speakers will address how communes can be used to abolish the capitalist logic, which is based, of course, on exploitation of the human beings and expropriation of nature. And also we will look at the commune as a mechanism to overcome the range of oppressions that exist in a capitalist society, including racial, gender, sexual, and colonial. The talk is...
We got a W in the chat for Old Sub Sailor with a gifted channel membership. Thank you so much, Old Sub. Guys, as a reminder, if you want to show your appreciation during the stream for this several-hour class that I'm about to give you for free, please make sure you're gifting some channel memberships. I would love to hit 100 channel memberships today to support the work I'm doing. When you're gifting channel memberships, you not only help me out, you're also helping other people on the channel out. Gifted channel memberships get access to spy streams when they come up. I know we haven't had a spy stream lately because there just hasn't been one lately. Sometimes there are lulls in spy stream, but I promise you they're going to be picking up. I think it has to do with college graduation and stuff like that. So I really wouldn't worry about it. But definitely if we can make some progress on the channel membership goal, if I teach you something you didn't know before, if I point out something in a new way that you hadn't thought of before, please make sure to show your appreciation for some gifted channel memberships. We got average person in there with 5 gifted channel memberships. W's in the chat for average person. Thank you so much. See, he's making reparations. He's making reparations for confusing people about Haiti. is what's going on right now. Average person is like, oh, sorry, Karlyn, I fucked up. Doug, in with the channel membership. W's in the chat for Doug. Thank you for the gifted channel membership. See, already 9% of the way to our goal, guys. Well done. Keep them coming in. If I teach you something or you just feel like it, I would appreciate it.
Called Commune or Nothing, Comuna or Nada, precisely because recently Chris Gilbert, who is among our panelists, he recently published a book with monthly review by that name. Commune or Nothing is a reference to Chavez's 2012. In 2012, Chavez, after already having proposed the Commune in 2009 as the strategic objective of the Bolivarian Revolution, in 2012, in his last political testament, he said Commune or Nothing. Basically, he was calling upon us and the people of Venezuela and possibly the world to the commune is an imperative. So that's what
Yo,
we will,
Mitchell! Mitchell,
that's what kind of like moves us to meeting here today and debating. I invite all of you to look for the book on the monthly review site, and of course the books of all the other panelists. I will be introducing each of the panelists one by one, and I will give each of them a 10-minute, each person will more or less make a 10-minute intervention. Without further ado, we are going to move on to John Bellamy Foster. He is a monthly review editor. He's the author of many books. A recent book that is actually quite relevant is Capitalism in the Anthropocene, Ecological Ruin and Ecological Revolution. And this book is actually relevant to our talks, as we will see. It's interesting that in 2011, John traveled with Mesaros to Caracas to meet with Chavez, and Mesaros was super important for Chavez. He really influenced Chavez in his conception of the commune. So I will start with some kind of like questions for John. John, you have talked about the possibility of communion age following the Capitolinian age. So what motivates you with that term, to use that term, right? And more importantly, what are the main features?
That? They're talking about the communion age after the Capitolian age. Did she say Capitolian age? Like it's astrology or something? Average person W's. Thank you so much, average person. You rock. By the way, I got the book. It's in a box. I haven't opened it yet, but I did get the book, bro. So thank you. Or I should say they, them, not bro. I should say they, them to keep it non-binary, obviously. I'm pretty sure she said Capitolian age.
You have talked about the possibility of communion age following the Capitolinian age.
The Capitolian age.
So what motivates you with that?
Have we ever heard that before? The Capitolian age?
The Capitolinian age?
Capitolinian?
So what motivates you with that term, to use that term, right? And more importantly, what are the main features of the society, of the communion age? What would be the relationship of human beings with non-human nature?
Hang on. So, and again, I don't mean to pick on you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. You're making the mistake a lot of people make, though, which is you think there's a difference between socialism and communism. And I understand why you think that, because you're talking about the philosophy. You're talking about this idea that socialism is the transitionary mechanism of communism. What you have to understand, and I'm not just saying this for you, I'm saying this for everyone in the chat and who may be watching. What you have to understand is the left does not distinguish between the two. What we do on the channel is we are talking about a highly practical, on the ground interpretation of what the left is doing in the real world and what they believe in the real world. Sometimes the philosophy matches what the left says and does in the real world, and sometimes the philosophy does not match. So if you're just going back and you're like, Karl Marx wrote this 150 years ago, okay, yeah, that's very nice and everything, but just because Karl Marx wrote something 150 years ago does not mean that's what the left is saying and doing today. Sometimes they are, and sometimes they are not, because ideologies evolve. And so if you're only going off the theoretical concept of like socialism is the transitionary mechanism of communism, I understand why you might think that they're skipping socialism, but when real socialists and communists are talking about these ideas in the real world, they use the terms interchangeably. They do not distinguish really between the two. They will call themselves socialists, communists, and Marxists literally in the same sentence. So, for my purposes, I do not distinguish between the two because they do not distinguish between the two. Not in any practical sense. And again, we're not talking about the philosophy of it. We are talking about the practical, real world implementation of what they're doing. I hope that makes sense and it answers your question. They're not skipping socialism. They don't think that they're different.
The wider community, how would the ecological crisis be addressed in this new society? And well, where do we see some seeds for this future communal society? Thank you, John, again. John, I think you are muted.
The Anthropocene, of course, is our major problem because we're facing the possible extinction of humanity, and certainly it threatens an existential crisis for all of humanity. Hundreds of millions and billions of people threatened. And so everything we do has to be related to that. And the Anthropocene has generated a controversy over whether we should call it the Anthropocene, whether we should call it the Capitalocene, or something else. Of course, scientists have decided on the notion of the Anthropocene because for the first time in the history of the Earth, a species, humanity is, well, the first time human species is becoming the driver of the entire Earth system. And this is a fundamental change that began in the 1950s. But if we recognize that we're in this predicament, there's the question of what is the first age of the Anthropocene, because every geological epoch has an age that is attached to it. Actually, usually 3 ages. So Carl Soriano and at the same time, virtually the same time, Brett Clark and myself designated the first age of the Anthropocene as the Capitolian or Capitolinian. But then there's the question of what comes after, because we're going to remain in a situation where we control the destiny of the planet to some extent. That is, we control our own destiny. We either drive ourselves into extinction or not. And as long as industrial civilization survives, we will be in that position. So the Capitolian represents the age dominated by capitalism and the destructive relations to the Earth.
This is, by the way, again, this recording is several years old. I have never heard anyone else use this term. And I see that Mizakan and Average Person were posting some links about this particular term. Apparently, the paper that Average Person found was written by this person. So I think that this is a term that this specific person and probably some of his friends have kind of like made up. So I don't want people to think that this whole Capitolian, whatever the fuck, I don't want people to think that this is a common, well-known term, because I've literally never heard anyone else use it before outside of this presentation, and this presentation is several years old. So this is just one of those weird things that they made up and didn't go anywhere.
And we've argued that by around 2050, we have to be creating a different relation to the Earth, the communion.
2050.
Clark and I have argued, in which we create a sustainable relation to the earth. But that's only possible if we have communal social relations. We can only create a community with the earth, sustainable human development, if we also have a society of substantive equality, what Meseros called substantive equality. Substantive equality and ecological sustainability come together, and they're only possible in a society and a geological age where we have a more communal relation to the earth. But it's no accident that we chose the term communion to talk about what has to exist ecologically if we're going to have a sustainable relation to the planet, because that goes back to Marx. Marx and Engels basically saw socialism in terms of communal relations, and they saw that more and more as their work developed. And so they talked constantly about communal relations, communal exchange, particularly in the Grundrisse, about communes, community. This is the direction that socialism had to go in the classical Marxist conception. So we were building on that, but also on the work of Istvan Meseros, particularly his Beyond Capital. And Meseros argued that we had to create a communal system. He had his fundamental chapter, which influenced Chavez enormously, was called the communal system and the law of value. And of course, it's the most difficult chapter in the book, but it emphasizes the need to create a socialism around communal relations, around communal exchange, and to reject the law of value of capitalism. And that means that the relations have to be oriented in terms of time, in terms of activities, in terms of communal needs, in terms of use values. Basically, the notion of communal exchange in a communal society has a whole different notion of exchange and production, in which communal needs are the priority, and what we exchange are activities and use values, and we exchange time. We distribute disposable time on a collective communal basis, and so on. And so it ends up being a fundamentally different system than capitalism. As Chris Gilbert explains in his book, it's a system where decisions are not made ex post by the mediation of the market, but they're made ex ante through communal planning and organization, addressing needs directly. Now, Meseros's analysis was built.
But this is why we do not study the philosophy on this channel. It's not that the philosophy is never relevant. They do reference it sometimes, but like the fact that you're saying this, he's not referencing the philosophy. The ideology has evolved. We are interested in socialism, communism today. We are not interested in the philosophy 150 years ago, because just because someone wrote something back in the day, or even 50 years ago, or even 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, it does not mean that that thing that was written is influential on what they're actually doing in the real world. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. So the only time we might look at the philosophy or a paper or something like that is when we know they are reading it in the real world, and when we know that they are influenced by it. And we tell that by going and collecting their propaganda, going to their events, seeing what ideas are bubbling up, seeing what pamphlets and zines they're handing out. They will tell you what they're reading in the real world. And so, like, you don't have to, like, dig around in old philosophy. You can say, they're reading this, they're reading this, they're reading this, they're not reading this, and this. Hope that makes sense.
built around the notion of social metabolic reproduction, which he took from Marx's notion of social metabolism as it was
Social
used in the
reproduction. Just
Gunjisa.
said that.
And the idea was that that the system of capital is not to be understood as a simplistic relation between labor and capital, but you have to look at his entire organic system with interconnections. If you just focus on one connection, you're going to fail. You have to create the entire system of reproduction. And that was articulated by Chavez based on Mézières most succinctly in terms of the elementary triangle of socialism, which meant, consisted of first social ownership, second social organization of production by workers, and third satisfaction of communal needs. And if you dealt with all these different areas simultaneously, you would be able to create a communal system that had a social metabolic reproduction that was antithetical to capitalism and that represented a system of sustainable human development. And so Mézières, rather abstractly and philosophically, developed these ideas, and Chavez started putting them into practice and giving them a more political significance. And I was part of the conversations at the time. I spent a lot of time with Mézières, and we communicated a lot. And of course, Mézières was spending time with Chavez. In 2011, I went to Venezuela because I was invited by the government. Chavez was going to, immediately after the election, he was going to push for the communes in a big way. And that was the agenda at the meeting. It was a small group of intellectuals with the government, and Chavez was setting the agenda. Except when I arrived, he was on television, and as he was walking over to join us, he had his first collapse. And so he wasn't present at that meeting, and we went over a lot of it and understood what the project was. But it wasn't until later on, when he was, when at the very end of his life, in his very last speech, the El Golpe speech, that he raised the issue front and center, insisted that it was commune or nothing, which is the subject of Chris's book. So this is, a complex analysis. What I think is important to understand is that Chavez was a major theorist as well as a politician, and he was working with one of the major, I would say, the leading Marxist philosopher at this part of the late 20th, early 21st century, István Mézières, and they were delving deeply into the whole Marxist tradition in order to create an alternative, a new path to socialism based on the communal state, as it was called at one point, and then the commune, the whole notion of building the communes. And I thought that this was the most pioneering, really successful attempt to introduce a new path to socialism in our time that wasn't simply applicable to Venezuela, but applicable to struggles for socialism everywhere. That this, of course, every country has its own vernacular traditions, its own paths. The conditions differ, but I came to believe that the Bolivarian
it wouldn't make sense for me to add Mickey Mouse shirts because most socialists and communists in the United States hate Mao, and they're not Maoists, and so they don't Like the whole idea that this is Maoism with American characteristics is completely wrong. Most of these people denounce Mao, they denounce Stalin, they denounce all of that stuff. So that really wouldn't make sense, but I appreciate the sentiment. But yeah, like this is not, guys, if you think that this is about the CCP, you have watched too much conservative media. These people explicitly denounce Mao. They explicitly denounce China. They believe China is capitalist. They do not believe China's communist because China is capitalist. If we're being blunt about it, they just are. But like, so that whole thing about Mao that conservatives like to read about, not real. It's not real. Not real. No, this is not someone from the CCP. No, this is not that at all. Again, please, guys, please stop listening to bullshit conservative media that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Please. You will be so much smarter if you stop listening to them. I promise you. Venezuela really dodged a bullet. I mean, I don't know about that. Like Trump basically cooed them and took away their leader. So I don't know about that, but I do appreciate you being a member of the channel for 16 months. Thank you.
Emphasis on the communal state and the communes was a radically different path to socialism and really closer to what our ultimate goals should be, and a new strategy that really works in all sorts of ways. Of course, Venezuela has not been free to introduce this strategy as it would have liked. First, Chavez died, and the whole country came under the hybrid warfare of the United States, and yet, as Chris explains in his book, that made the communes even more important. And it meant that they represented a revolutionary strategy which could go forward in these conditions. And I want to just end with a principle that Meseros always emphasized, and Chavez too, that the revolution has to be made irreversible in order to succeed. And the only way you can make it
the revolution has to be made irreversible in order to succeed. The revolution has to be made irreversible in order to succeed. Could that be because there's no fucking way it would actually work if people had another option? Like,
that Meseros always emphasized, and Chavez too, that the revolution has to be made irreversible in order to succeed. And the only way you can make it irreversible is to base it in the people themselves and their communal needs and activities.
Basically, well, I mean, I think the philosophy might be like, you liberate the people from the oppressive force and you allow them to all be artists in the commune, and they're not going to want to go back. I think that might actually be the logic there. Thank you, Doug. W's for Doug. Gifted channel membership. Appreciate you very, very much, bro. That's a fuck off great idea, Mitchell. That is a great fucking idea. Thank you. I will work on that.
Thank you so much, John. It is indeed extraordinary to live in Venezuela and to see communes as they take shape. So it's great to hear your reflections and also from your experience with Meseros. Next, we go to Emmy O'Brien. She's author of Family Abolition, Capitalism, and the Communizing of Care. She's also the co-author of Everything for Everyone, an oral history of the New York Commune, 2052 to 2072. And she has reflected extensively on these issues. So thank you, Michelle, for being here with us. In Everything for Everyone, it depicts the emergence of a new society based on communes and that emerge following a series of disasters and wars, right? And um, in your work, in your other work, on family abolition, you posit the commune as the alternative, as an alternative to social reproduction unit that will substitute the family, right? So
the commune is the alternative to the social reproductive unit she has bad English, but she's saying the social reproductive unit of the family. The commune is the substitute for the social reproductive unit of the family. I explained at the beginning of the presentation, social reproduction theory is why they want to abolish the nuclear family, because they believe capitalism is literally reproduced in the nuclear family. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, capitalism is reproduced within the nuclear family. And so the reason they want to abolish the family is because they believe they cannot abolish capitalism without abolishing the family and abolishing the social reproduction of capitalist values. They're saying the substitute for the family, the thing they are going to replace the family with, is the commune. It is not helpful to do this. It is not fucking... They're all crazy. They're winning and you're fucking losing. They're winning and you're fucking losing. So what does it say about you if you are literally losing to crazy people because you don't bother to understand what they're fucking saying? I wouldn't say that. No, I think that's an example of making shit up. And no one has said anything about a gang. No one has said that. No one has said that. Nope, that's not something that's been said. Okay, guys, stop making shit up. How many chats have we seen in the last 5 minutes of people literally making shit up? No one said that. Another example of making shit up. Stop making shit up. Stop it. Oh, so what they really mean is this. No. Oh, so what they really mean is this. No. Oh, so they're really all satanic. No. W's to Virgo Moon, though, sending in a super chat. Guys, they will tell you what they mean. They will tell you what they believe. This is not some secret fucking thing. This is not something where they say something and then it's your job to go, they're really talking about building a satanic, devil-worshipping cult. No, they're not. No. No, they're not. No. What they are talking about is getting rid of the nuclear family. Oh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, you haven't had the rules explained to you, asshole. You haven't had the rules explained to you. This is not a free speech zone for you to get in your conservative fucking feelings and to make shit up and to disrupt my fucking classroom. Accent, I appreciate you. I'll get to you in a second. This is not your fucking safe space to whine and complain and to make shit up. You are in my fucking classroom, asshole. You sit the fuck down, shut the fuck up, and either listen and learn or get the fuck out. No one is here to learn from you. They are here to learn from me. No one cares what the fuck you think. They care what I think, and they care what far smarter people than you who have been doing this for years while you've been whining and complaining all over social media and making shit up and lying and doing nothing but go, oh no, you just got banned. Oh no, you just got permanently banned. You just got permanently banned. Oh, go away, loser. We don't want you here. We don't want you here. No. This is not, we are not on a playground. Recess is over on Fox News' Facebook page. You can go over there. Goodbye. But a big W in the chat to Axehead. W's, 5 channel memberships. Thank you so much, Axehead. I apologize. I was yelling at a retard in the chat when you donated that, and I was full on rant, and I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop. But guys, for people who are smart enough to understand what I'm talking about, not that retard we just permanently banned from the chat. For people who are smart enough to understand what I'm talking about, they will tell you what they believe. The problem is, and why you're making up all these fantastical stories, Biden was not a communist. Biden is not a communist. No, no, no. Also making shit up. No, no, no. Doesn't matter what he said. No, no, no. No, no, no. Well, if you don't want to get banned, then don't be a dick, don't fucking whine, and don't ever fucking talk back to me and pretend you know more than me. You can ask questions. You're allowed to ask questions, but the minute that you start being a dick, you insult me, you show clearly that you're not listening, you show clearly that you're not here to learn, that is when you're going to get banned. If you are genuinely new and you're genuinely asking questions, there's nothing to worry about, bro. I promise you. We love it when people are new. We do not love it when people are asshat retards that are not here to learn and will only be disruptive of what we're doing. Fishing Fled, thanks for being a member of the channel for 3 months. I will never be the same again, Dr. B. Thanks. I mean, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, Fishing Fled, but I do appreciate you being a member of the channel for 3 months. Thank you, thank you. Malcolm in with the $20 for some more anti-retard cream. Thank you, Malcolm. I could definitely use some more anti-retard cream. We also got Malcolm with 5 gifted channel memberships. W's, Malcolm. Really appreciate you, bro. What an amazing supporter. What an amazing supporter. Okay, let me get this question. Let me put the Malcolm super chat or channel memberships in the tally first. Otherwise, I'll forget and I have to do math and stuff like that. Okay. When you say they say what they mean and we don't need to read into it, is it because they think they are smarter than the rest of us? Well, don't you think you're smarter than them? That's kind of a weird question. I'm not going to make you feel too bad because you're asking as a newbie, but like, doesn't everyone think they're smarter than everyone else? Doesn't everyone think they're smarter than everyone else? Don't you think you're smarter than everyone else? I sure as shit think I'm smarter than everyone else. Everyone thinks they're smarter than everyone else. So this is a thing where you're trying to say that they're narcissists and they're full of themselves because they're talking. I know that because I know the conservative talking points. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I've been doing this a long time. I know exactly where this is coming from. They're full of themselves and they think they know everything and I know exactly what you're doing. Everyone thinks they're smarter than everyone else. Everyone thinks their ideas are correct. If you don't think that your ideas are correct, then you would probably change your ideas to something else. So yes, they absolutely think their ideas are correct, but that is not why they're doing this. That is not the problem. Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. You have to understand the language that they are speaking. They are not speaking the same language you are. You are speaking a different language. You might use the same vocabulary. You do not have the same dictionary. You use different definitions for the words you use than what they would use if they are using the same words. You have got to understand that your definitions of things do not matter in terms of the exercise that we are doing here. What matters is their definitions of things. So if you are new to this, you don't understand what they are saying. That is why I am breaking it down and I'm saying, when they say this word, here is what they mean by that. When they say this word, here is the definition that they are putting to that word. I'm teaching you how to speak their language. So right now, because you are new, and this is something you can learn, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but everyone is new at things at some point, right? Because you are new, you do not understand what they are saying at face value. Once you learn how to speak their language, once you become fluent in their language, you will understand what they're saying at face value, and you should take it at face value. But like, you have to know their definitions of the words to know even what points they're making. And so that's why I'm breaking it down. Now, coming in and inventing something that is not what they're saying is incredibly unhelpful. And this is why the right is so misinformed about what the left is doing. They will tell you what they're doing. These are their private meetings, guys. I know this is confusing to people because this stuff is on YouTube and people think that YouTube is for entertainment, and for some people it is, but for some people it's not. And people think that if someone puts something on YouTube, they're trying to get to the broadest possible audience. That's not what these people are trying to do. The only reason we're watching their presentations is I know where their presentations are. We're going into their private environments. We're going into their private Zoom calls. We're going into their private meetings. They are not talking to us. They are talking to each other. They are talking to people who speak their language, okay? And so they don't have to translate in their own meetings. That would be like saying that a bunch of French people who are meeting like need to speak in English. Well, why do they need to speak in English? They all speak French. French is their native language. If a bunch of French people were going to hold a meeting, of course they would speak in French, and it would be ridiculous to expect them to speak in English. Right? That's what's going on. You're speaking English, they're speaking French. We are watching their meeting. They are speaking in French. They do not use the same definitions that you use. The only reason it's confusing is that it's a different dialect of English. So I hope that helps people understand what we're doing here. And again, I'll continue to explain what they mean if people ask questions in the chat. Hang on, let me just make sure I'm caught up with everything. We do have a member chat. Thank you, Candace, for being a member of the channel for 2 months. People having families is antithetical to socialism, which is why they're trying to explain no, that's not fair. No. Again, this is making shit up. They do not mind people having a family of choice. They do not mind people having a polyamorous fucking like communal type environment in their home. They don't mind people having kids. Emmy O'Brien has a kid. The socialist on the screen right now on the right has a kid. They do not, but Emmy O'Brien is not raising their kid with capitalist values. The problem that they have, and again, you gotta resist the urge to make shit up here. The problem that they have is with the nuclear family. The nuclear family, they believe, is a capitalist institution that is raising children with capitalist values to feed the capitalist machine. They do not have problem with procreation. They do not have a problem with people living together or being in relationships. They believe that everyone belongs to everyone else and that everyone is responsible for caring for everyone else. I hope that clears that up. Old Sub, thank you for the channel membership. Another W's to you, good sir, getting us up to 25% of our goal for the day. Really appreciate the gifts of all so far. Let me get in the chat. Any other questions? And again, guys, I'm really not trying to make anyone feel bad, but like this is a very, very different type of learning that we do on the channel. I understand it can be hard to get into. I appreciate everyone who takes the time to do it. There's just no shortcut to this. It's just like listening to them is the very best way to learn their language.
Why did you focus on social reproduction rather than production, which would have been the most common Marxist trope perhaps? And if you can, and why does it help to define the future commune, to the future to talk about communes? If we could talk about that, we would be really grateful.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you for the organizers of this panel and People's Forum for hosting, and Chris Gilbert for writing an excellent book that provides the beginnings, the frame for us to be meeting here today. So I'm going to be speaking for about 10 minutes. I have to get off early, so I might not be joining the discussion later, and my apologies for that. It's certainly no lack of enthusiasm for this event. So as Sarah alluded to, I have 2 books, and they're sister books. They're very closely related to each other. One is fiction, one is nonfiction, and they both are concerned with the commune as a sort of central object of theorizing.
By the way, Emmy O'Brien not only lectures at colleges and universities all over the country, Emmy O'Brien teaches at New York University, NYU.
So the first book I co-authored with Iman al-Dahadi. It's called Everything for Everyone, An Oral History of the New York Commune, 2052 to 2072. It came out in 2022 with Common Notions Press.
Yeah, trans
And
Chrissy
so
Mayer.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you a little bit about the conceit of the book and some of our thinking that went into it, and read perhaps a couple of lines and then move on to the other book. So Everything for Everyone is a fictional collection of fictional oral histories with people in the future about their personal involvement in the world historical events of a global communist revolution when it finally arrives in New York City. And so me and a man play ourselves as very old ladies. It's 2072. And we are going around interviewing various people, being like, so where were you during the insurrection of Hunts Point and the People's Assembly of Crotona Park and the liberation of the MDC jail in Lower Manhattan, and sort of people telling their stories. And they're people, it'd be New York, people come from all over the world. And then second chapter is about the liberation of Palestine. And given the current genocide in Gaza, activists are rereading this chapter partially for solace and inspiration. And you learn about the Civil War in the Midwest from a very traumatized indigenous militant. And you learn about the fascist cults that ran Staten Island, and learn about the
fascist
explosive growth of revolutionary activity around the world and in New York City. And it being oral histories, there's this sort of seamless move back and forth between the psychological and the rhythms of the person's speech. Many of the characters are highly traumatized. The world enters into some very dark periods in the 2040s. And the sort of broad historical sweep. So you get this sort of like people's idiosyncratic and personal reflections on the kind of structural transformations that they've witnessed. So as an example, the first interview is with Miss Kelly. Miss Kelly is a Black trans sex worker who lives in Hunts Point, and she's based partially on many activists who I have been really deeply inspired by and have been my political mentors. I'm trans, and I moved to New York City in 2004 to work at a syringe exchange program in Hunts Point, and did a lot of outreach to sex workers in the neighborhood, and have been in and out of sex worker movements and trans liberation movements ever since. So at one point I asked Miss Kelly, what does the commune mean to you? She says, it means we take care of each other. It means everything for everyone. It means we communized the shit out of this place. It means we took something that was property and we made it life. And I ask, there's the commune where you live, but also the commune.
Yeah, I think it's a really great way to put it. Activists inspire the authors that write the books that academics use to teach the activists. That's fucking brilliant. That is fucking brilliant. Average person redeemed from earlier with the Haiti affair. Fucking brilliant.
Of the whole region. And she says, yeah, I started to see that as we took over making sure everyone got fed. So the sex workers play a leading role in the Hunts Point commune
Oh, the sex workers play the leading role in the communist overthrow of America. Isn't that funny? Hey, thanks for the $10 super chat, Verdan. Speaking of chosen families, do they perceive any danger of capitalist social reproduction in a setting, or is it only possible according to them in the nuclear family? Okay, so what they believe is that the nuclear family is something, they don't believe the nuclear family always existed. They believe that capitalism created the nuclear family in order to reproduce the capitalist system. So if they abolish the nuclear family, they will abolish the thing that reproduces the capitalist system. They believe that quote unquote families existed or different types of relationships existed before the nuclear family. And they believe that in a communist society, it will just be a different type of social relation. Again, I explained this earlier. I don't know if you were here. What they're trying to fundamentally do is change the way that human beings relate to each other. And so that's what they're trying to do. They're like, do they perceive any danger of a capitalist social reproduction in that setting? they need to eliminate many aspects of capitalism. The nuclear family is not the only aspect of capitalism they need to eliminate. The nuclear family is just the main breeding grounds for the reproduction of it. So if there was a different type of model, like say a polyamorous model or something like that, that's not a nuclear family. So they're not afraid of that reproducing capitalism because polyamory is fundamentally anti-assimilationist, anti-normative. And so polyamory wouldn't reproduce capitalism in the same way, I'm explaining what they believe, that the nuclear family would. See, this is the type of question that I think is fucking bullshit, and I don't fucking like it. Don't fucking do this shit ever again. Excuse me, where are they gonna get their welfare? Asshole, there's no money in a communist society. So there's no fucking credit card, there's no money. So there's your fucking answer. Do not ever do this owning the libs thing. This is the type of question I get mad about because this is not a genuine question. This is I'm gonna own the libs so I can feel better than them. That's what this is. Only ask genuine questions and you won't get fucking reamed out for it. That's like magatard level. Yeah, that's magatard level. But thank you for the super chat. I hope I answered your question. If I didn't, let me know. I'm happy to clarify.
Is launched with the takeover of the produce market there in 2052. She says that it was all in layers, that me and the girls could help take care of those hauling the food in and out, that they could take care of the borough could take care of the city could take care of the whole region, and the region could take care of us. It's all the commune. It's all for everyone. It took a lot of fighting and a lot of dying, and every day it seemed impossible, but we made it through. Somehow we made it through. And so the response from Everything for Everyone was quite remarkable, the kind of outpouring of enthusiasm for it. And neither Amanda nor I are fiction writers, but there was just tremendous interest and tremendous enthusiasm for the book. Oh, I have 3 minutes left. So I will move on to Family Abolition. So Family Abolition is a sister book. It's a nonfiction theorizing of a history of the family under racial capitalism. And there's a number of different components to the argument, but the one that's most relevant for us today is it has a speculative component, theorizing the commune as an institution that could replace the family as the primary unit of social reproduction.
Bro, no. Only literal retards think the left is dying. Either be here to learn or get the fuck out. No conservative bullshit in the chat. It's not allowed. If you do it again, I'm going to ban you.
Without consolidating social reproduction activities primarily into the state or into the market, which I think there are good reasons for avoiding both. And so the commune is a way of theorizing revolutionary transition in the book and thinking about particularly draw from the communization tradition. And then also I'm really interested in what I call insurgent social reproduction. So these are the communal forms of social reproduction that emerge in the midst of militancy and insurgency, when large numbers of working class people are in direct rebellion.
I want to explain what Emmy O'Brien is talking about right now. Social reproduction does not only apply to capitalism. Social reproduction applies to all social systems. So if you have a system that is a communist system, a communal system, that system will reproduce. Oh my fucking God. What the fuck is going on? Okay, you just got permanently banned for that. Go away. Goodbye. Can you imagine walking into a fucking classroom and going, I'm a furry? This is the level of retardation I deal with from the conservative right. I swear to God. So, when you have a communal system, the communal system will socially reproduce communism. Not all social reproduction is about reproducing capitalism. A capitalist system will socially reproduce capitalist values. But if you have a communist system, that system will socially reproduce communist values until it is disrupted. So what Emmy O'Brien is about to say is, listen, there are all sorts of we have examples in society of when a communist system reproduced communal values. That's what they're trying to get to. They're trying to disrupt the social reproduction of capitalism and get to the social production and reproduction of communal communist values.
I'm really interested in what I call insurgent social reproduction. So these are the communal forms of social reproduction that emerge in the midst of militancy and insurgency. When large numbers of working class people are in direct rebellion against the state and capital, what kind of strategies do they actually use to reproduce themselves?
So during the communist revolution, what kind of values are emerging among the communist revolutionaries, and what system will that socially reproduce? Well, okay, so typically how a commune is going to be run, although they might have different ideas, but this is typically what I've heard, there will be a local elected council sort of thing where everyone in the community elects the people who are on like the local council, and they will be the ones that are kind of like the point people, like you would have like a committee or something like that, but everyone in the community is involved in the decision making process. So this is one of those things where if you've watched the socialism conference with us or you watch socialist presentations, you know how they run meetings, because how typically a socialist meeting is run is they have a panel of people that sit at the front of the room, and those people present for 10 minutes, just like you see the people here. They're all going to present for 10 minutes, and then there'll be a discussion, and then the audience gets to get up and ask questions and make their own statements, and the audience gets to interact with the discussion. That is how they envision society running, some sort of elected council. And by the way, no one's going to be elected to the council forever. There's like term limits, like you can only be elected for one term. They don't want hierarchy to be created. They don't want someone to be in a leadership position forever. Everyone takes turns, essentially, is what it is. And so like that's kind of how they're going to make decisions. Now, what does that mean for who works when? I mean, I think that is just part of the overall decision-making thing of like, who gets assigned to what job? What are you doing? That sort of thing. But here's what I do know. If you don't do the job that they want you to do, you don't eat. So that's that. Okay, Bob, I'm very, very sorry, Bob. I'm very sorry. It's you. It's not us. You're far too stupid to be here. You didn't follow my clear instructions to shut the fuck up and listen. And now, Bob, I'm very, very sorry. We don't want people like you here. You can't follow along. You're only disruptive. You only cause problems. I am deporting you from the chat. Please get the fuck out and don't come back.
So I opened with the example of the Oaxaca commune in 2006. And thinking about women cooking and taking care of their kids and serving coffee, living on the barricades, defending their neighborhoods against nightly attacks by paramilitaries, and women taking over the radio stations, and this whole rebellion that unfolded in Oaxaca. And similarly, like I look at how social reproduction happens at protest camps. So the commune, rather than being a deliberate plan, a blueprint that's sort of imposed, or being necessarily the deliberate collective housing arrangements that I grew up, spent a lot of time in my young adulthood, the commune is actually emerging from the social reproduction of protest camps themselves.
Okay, so Emmy O'Brien is saying, during the communist revolution, there are going to be all of these protest camps where basically the revolutionaries are going to go from living in their nuclear family household to living in the commune. And she cites the Oaxaca commune, which is like them's favorite example of a time when women left the nuclear household to go to the commune to fight their little communist revolution in Oaxaca, Mexico, or something like that. And so what they're saying is, when the revolution is happening, people are going to leave the nuclear family and everyone's going to go live on a commune. The revolutionaries are going to live on a commune, and they're going to decide how their commune is run as they are overthrowing capitalist society. And once capitalism is overthrown, the values that are developed in the insurgent communal type environment are the values that are going to inform the future communist society, because that is where the communal lifestyle is going to be reproduced from. Does everyone understand? I know this might be complicated for people who are new. Let me know if you have questions.
This insurgent social reproduction that's sustaining the protests requires collectivizing social reproduction. That the nuclear household is very poorly suited to enabling people to protest.
See?
And so neither book is a dismissal of the need to collectivize production or think about communism in terms of production, but I feel like there's been a lot more extensive theorizing and attention to that over time, and that the social reproduction theory has been very powerful for beginning to draw attention to all these other forms of labor that go into the reproduction of people.
There you go, Deets! W's to you, my friend. Thank you so much for the gifted channel membership. Really appreciate it.
And both books are sort of a contribution to trying to think about what communism means in those terms. So thank you again to everyone who's involved in this. And it's really been a great pleasure to read Chris Gilbert's book. And Karlyn Borysenko and Bellamy Foster have been big inspirations for me for a long time. So I think I'm out of time.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And in the chat, in the comments, somebody is asking, Barry is asking if the commune is a viable strategy. And I think that that's a very relevant question. We have seen them working here in Venezuela, but not everybody is here in Venezuela. So we will now move on to, we will transition to two really existing communal movements. One which is related to the book that has been mentioned, the Commune or Nothing book, that being Venezuela, Bolivarian Revolution. And the other one, the Jackson-Kush Plan and Cooperation Jackson in the Black Belt.
Not sure I understand your question, Maddox.
So we will begin with Karlyn Borysenko. Karlyn is a spokesperson for Cooperation Jackson. He is the co-author of Jackson Rising Redux.
Would I equate it to tribalism? Sure. Would I equate MAGA with tribalism? Yup. Would I equate Israel with tribalism? Yup. Would I equate pretty much any group of people living together with a shared set of values to tribalism? Yup. So I don't think it's useful to call it that, because what you're trying to do is like demonize them, and that's not useful. It's like they're not the only ones who do tribalism. You know what I'm saying? Like, communism is not inherently tribalism any more than any other group of people with shared values is inherently tribalism. So I wouldn't do that. I don't think it's a good analogy. But I know why you're asking that, Derpy Dan. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but that's just my thought process behind it.
So we know, writing a new book, and we are really looking forward to that. So Karlyn, I wanted to ask you, since, well, Cooperation Jackson started in 2014.
It
basically
we got Hans in! Hans, 10 gifted channel memberships. W's in the chat to you, good sir. We appreciate you very, very much. Thank you for that. We're up to 36 of our 100 goal for today. Making good progress, guys. Really appreciate it.
Centers on combating racial capitalism while constructing new social relations. And basically the question I wanted to ask you is, can you explain the project's strategy and specifically how it appeals to the commons and to common property? Thank you, Karlyn, for being here with us tonight.
No, thank you all for hosting this. Really kind of putting some threads back together in many respects, some of which what I mean by that I'll come to. But to start with the question, because we could talk about this for hours on end. I think all of us could in many respects. The root of kind of our commons-oriented approach, first and foremost, starts with our community land trust. And that's the Fannie Lou Hamer Community Land Trust, which is stewarded by Cooperation Jackson. And we currently have over 40 different properties in West Jackson that are part of our community land trust. There are several houses, which
I want everyone to learn from Werner here. Not gonna lie, Karlyn, when I initially joined, you said learn to understand the left before worrying about what to do about it. And I was like, why did Karlyn say that? But now, after you've started to learn the language of the left, you understand exactly why I told you to stop fucking doing shit and sit down and learn. Because this is the mistake that everyone makes. They think they need to go out and do something. Well, if you don't understand your enemy and you don't understand what your enemy believes and you don't understand what your enemy is doing and you don't understand their organizing strategies and you don't understand like any of this stuff, there's nothing you can do. You're gonna fuck it up because it doesn't. If you don't understand your enemy, nothing you do is going to be enough to stop them. So thank you, Werner. I appreciate that. Let me see where he said. Where is he in Jackson? Let's gonna listen to this a little bit more closely.
for hours on
Cooperation
end.
Jackson.
I think all of us could in many respects.
Sounds like he's in the South.
The root of kind of our commons-oriented approach, first and foremost, starts with our community land trust. And that's the Fannie Lou Hamer Community Land Trust, which is stewarded by Cooperation Jackson. And we currently have over 40 different properties in West Jackson that are part of our community land trust. There are several houses which are being occupied as a housing cooperative. And then there are several commercial spaces that
Probably
are being utilized
Mississippi.
by
Probably
various co-ops
Mississippi.
and community-oriented businesses. And then there's several land parcels which are being utilized by our Freedom Farms co-op to help us move on the objective of food sovereignty within our community. But I want people, and I'm glad you mentioned the Jackson Kush plan, I want people to kind of take a little step back and put us within the heart of a broader strategic plan. And that's the plan that was just mentioned by Circle, the Jackson Kush plan. And I think it's important to cite some of the intellectual and movement history that kind of led to that, and what I meant by coming back to some circles. So if it's not known to the audience, I'm going to make it known that the Bolivarian revolutionary process was very instrumental in our development, right? When I was a member of the Malcolm X grassroots movement, we were very much in touch, particularly with the Afro-Venezuelan network, and large portions of our work were kind of field tested and learned from studying and being able, various of our members being able to go to Venezuela and see many of the cooperatives and see many of the communes that were beginning to form in the early 2000s. And so we drew a lot of our work, our model, our theory from those models. And myself, also as being one of the key kind of writers and articulators and theorists behind those works, just to let everyone here know, I was glad to hear Mazzaro's name invoked, because it was his work, Beyond Capital, which for me, along with W.E.B. Du Bois's Black Reconstruction in America, those were two of the three works that really provided a clear strategic foundation and theoretical foundation for what you see in the Jackson Kush plan. And it formed, that work in particular, Beyond Capital, really underscored the aims and objectives of what we've been trying to both accomplish and operationalize to the greatest extent possible in Jackson through the vehicle of Cooperation Jackson, within the overall context of trying to execute the Jackson Kush plan. And for those of you who don't know what that plan is, It was, I think it's important to historicize this, that the public version of that plan came out in 2012. And this was a year before the unfortunate passing of President Chavez. And we had been in some dialogue with various forces in Venezuela and showing the work even prior to give folks feedback on how this might work, where it might fit in to some overall global strategy to give people advice in terms of, how do we anchor this within a broader anti-capitalist context, within a broader anti-capitalist movement. We took our charge. I know I did very personally. I was at the social forum that was held in Venezuela in 2007, where Chavez put out the challenge of where is this going, right? And that it needs to go in a particular direction, particularly a socialist, eco-socialist direction. That challenge was put out. And then I think we tried to start answering that and bringing that movement to the United States. And we took this notion that we had to start where we had our strength within the Jackson community and build and transform the relations there and to try to democratize the community to the greatest extent possible. So we adopted this notion of participatory and antagonistic democracy that we try to bring and make instrumentals to the other major component of the Jackson.
Well, they are completely against mass surveillance. And so I would say their plan is to overthrow the government, which is their plan for everything. They do not plan to live under our government. They plan to violently overthrow the government. That's their plan.
Which is the People's Assembly, and to pursue the context of seeking to hold office within the municipality to push the contradictions to the greatest extent possible, with an understanding that to hold office, particularly within the United States, that you cannot manage the contradictions of capitalism, and that fundamentally within the bourgeois order and society is what that means. To try to manage those contradictions. So we said we aren't trying to manage them. We're going to try to heighten them and use all the instruments, both of the formal kind of government space, but also throughout the People's Assembly, to agitate and to make all the vital questions about how do you actually govern a community, to make those mass questions to kind of upend the various relationships of power within the state of Mississippi and the United States government, to challenge it and to move us closer towards self-determination and sovereignty, which is some core aims and objectives of our particular movement and project. So you have to situate Cooperation Jackson within all of that. And I'm just saying this in brief, but you have to situate us within that. And what we are trying to do is to hold property, starting with land, in common, to create new methods of
hold property in common. This is an important distinction that people need to understand. Okay. When the left says capitalism, they mean private property ownership. One of the things they mean by private property ownership is the ownership of land. When they say capitalism, they mean, and there are other things too, but we're going to focus on the land for a moment. When they say capitalism, they mean private ownership of land so that you can exclude people from being able to use the land. So if you own a home and a little bit of property, you own a piece of private property that you, in theory, can exclude other people from entering because it is your private property. They believe that prior to Europeans coming to America, the land was not owned by anyone. They believe that Europeans came to America, stole the communal land from the indigenous people, and privatized it under capitalism to exclude people from using the land. What he's talking about is not transferring the ownership of the land. What he's talking about is they are trying to get access to property to build their commune so that they can have it under collective use or common use. What that means is no one owns the land. No one is excluded from the land. Everyone can use the land, and the land is under the collective caretakership of all. Okay? Try rephrasing that question in a way that you're not trying to own the libs, and maybe I'll consider answering it. But you're trying to own the libs right now, so I'm not going to answer a question where you're asking it in a snarky way to try to own the libs. Rephrase the question, pretend you are in a serious classroom asking a serious question, and then I will answer it. Thank you for the super chat, old sub. No Retardio Wednesday or Refardio Wednesday, but I think you meant Retardio Wednesday. I very much appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. When they do land blessings, this is a great point from Average Person. When they do land blessings, they never call for indigenous tribe. They never call the indigenous tribes the original owners of the land. They are always the caretakers of the land, the custodians of the land. It's an important point for people to grasp because in the communist utopia, no one owns the land. No one owns homes. No one owns property. No one owns rental property. You are assigned your house by the communal committee or whatever the fuck. But you will never own the house. You will never own the land. It always belongs to everyone. Listen again. I want to make sure people hear this.
I'm just saying this in brief, but you have to situate us within that. And what we are trying to do is to hold property, starting with land, in common.
In common.
To create new methods of in relations of production that focus in on improving the quality of life, not trying to maximize profit, and to come up with new techniques to not only improve the overall quality of life, but to situate as much as possible all the means of production into the community's hands. And we are doing that through a process of what we call community production, which is using the tools and techniques of digital fabrication to try to come up with appropriate technology. And for us, that means not only utilizing technology that we ourselves can own and control, but to utilize technology to produce use values that service community needs, that eliminate all the unnecessary waste and ecological damage that's caused by the capitalist productive process and relations. So these are some of the fundamental things that Cooperation Jackson is really concentrating on. And to answer one of the final questions, is the commune possible and viable? Our answer to that is yes, and it can be under a variety of different types of circumstances.
Okay, we've already answered your question.
It's just
we have already answered your question. We've already answered your fucking question. I want you to stop talking about this. It's not fucking relevant. And I already answered your question. Do they have a plan to destroy the surveillance state? They want to overthrow the government. Do they have a plan to destroy the surveillance state? How about violent overthrow of the fucking government? Am I being unclear? Is there something you do not understand? When I said they want to violently overthrow the fucking government, what I meant was they want to violently overthrow the fucking government. Now, do not ask this again. Your question has been answered. Do not run to my fucking mods after I answer the question and you don't get the answer you want. You think because Reagan is nicer than me that you can run to Reagan and cry because you didn't get the fucking answer you want? The answer is they want to overthrow the government. Now shut the fuck up and listen to what's going on. Is this what they're doing in Australia right now, where pretty much everyone... I don't know what they're doing in Australia, so that's hard for me to say. I don't study Australia. I study America. I appreciate why you ask. I just don't know enough about Australia to know what's going on there. Hey, thank you, I am, for the super sticker. Really, really appreciate you.
Matter of I think, trying to figure out the applications that work in your space, time, and conditions, and to operationalize those to the greatest extent possible with mass community support.
That's great, Kali. Thank you so much.
You're gonna support the violent overthrow of the government? Oh, you will? You're gonna support the violent overthrow of the government? One in the chat if we need to deport this retard from the chat for supporting the violent overthrow of the government by socialists. 2 in the chat if they can stay. We're now doing a deportation vote on you. You really should have just shut the fuck up. 1 in the chat if we need to deport this retard who would work with the socialists to violently overthrow the government. 2 in the chat if they can stay. The community is going to decide. I'm not going to decide this one. The community is going to decide. 1 for deport, 2 for the retard can stay. Very sorry, deported. The chat decided. I didn't decide. It was them, not me. We don't want you here. Go away.
Of course, being here in Venezuela, we always look to the project with a great deal of admiration and, of course, a feeling of sisterhood, brotherhood. So now we are going to turn to...
Like, seriously imagine coming into my fucking chat and saying, I would support the communists violently overthrowing the government. I would support them. Like, shut the fuck up. Get out.
Venezuela, to the second actually existing communal experiment here that we are talking about today. There are actually communes that work in Venezuela, going back to this question that has been asked on the chat. We see them actually working. So we'll talk more about them. Chris will be talking more about them. So Chris Gilbert is author of Commune or Nothing, the book that we've mentioned a couple of times, and that also gives the name to our panel today. It's published by Monthly Review Press. He's professor of political studies at Venezuela's Bolivarian University in Caracas. And he is co-author of Venezuela, the Present as Struggle, a book that we actually co-authored. Chris, you...
Yeah, do you see Hassan Piker on the screen right now? No, you want to know why? Hassan Piker is not relevant on the far left, really, at all. No one on the right talks about Hassan Piker way more than the left does. We don't talk about fake YouTube communists here. We talk about real communists here. And so I don't know why you're bringing up Hassan Piker. No one has mentioned him at all in any way. He's not relevant.
Book, Commune or Nothing, looks at the communal project that emerged under the auspices of the Bolivarian Revolution. Of course, Chavez comes to power in 98, but it is in 2006 that Chavez begins to talk about socialism. In 2009, that Chavez proposes the Commune as the path to socialism. And it's in 2012 when he says Commune or Nothing, Comuna or Nada, which is for us, for those of us who are here in Venezuela, committed to the communal project.
I didn't even notice that.
Kind of like a very powerful...
a
very powerful 3 words, a very powerful motive for working. So your book includes the accounts of some 8 individual communes, while it looks also at the history and the deep roots of the project. Communes are not something new. In short, you present also a theory of...
Do you know what happened? Is I did a mass amnesty on the channel where I unblocked every single person that I had ever blocked in chat before. So essentially, the reason there are more retards right now is that they're coming back. All those people that I blocked, they're coming back and they're still fucking retarded. But the good news is that some people that I blocked are not retarded. And sometimes people need a second chance. And so sometimes when we do mass general amnesties, we do see an uptick in retards, but we also give people a second chance who maybe thought they knew better and now they know they don't, and maybe they're upset that they're blocked because they just made a mistake one time and it was a bad mistake, but it was one time. And so I am a benevolent dictator, okay? I will give people a second chance. It's just that when we give people a second chance, the retards show up again and we have to block them again. But at least it's like entertainment for us. That's what happens. That's why we're seeing more right now.
The Commune. So, Chris, if you can explain the book's theoretical theorization of the Commune, as a strategic building block for the new communist society. And thank you for being here today.
Thanks. It's great to have this opportunity to talk with everybody about the commune. I guess I think we perhaps in an aleatory manner happened upon a good subtitle for the program because it's called Communes Against Capitalism. I mean that because one common thread that's been running through people's discussions has been strategy, and obviously it's not just because we have some enthusiasm for communes. It's rather that communes seem to be a viable strategy for overcoming capitalism. So that's kind of the way I want to structure my brief intervention. You mentioned that there's a theory of the commune, and of course in my book, and there's yes, that's right. And like any self-respecting theory, it's a theory that's based on reality, abstracts from reality, and it's also a theory that I think has potential to return to reality with a critical perspective, and maybe I'll get to that at the end, or maybe I'll have time to talk about that at the end. John mentioned Messeros, and actually Messeros enters in a second moment in my book. Obviously, Messeros is an earth, before and after, an epic-making thinker. But I actually kind of tried to reconstruct certain elements of the commune using value form theory and social reproduction theory. Those may seem to be an odd pairing, and probably most people aren't aware of value form theory. But just one takeaway from value form theory. Value form theory puts emphasis on how capitalist value is a social form. It's not just a magnitude or a substance. So once you start thinking about value as a social form, that in a way connects with social reproduction theory, because social reproduction theory is concerned with the totality of capitalist production, essentially how, capitalism, we don't only produce mercancías, commodities, but we also reproduce the labor force, we reproduce life. And you can see that those two elements
you can see he's defining social reproduction theory just in case people need to hear them say it instead of hearing me say it. Social reproduction theory is about reproducing all of the social systems of capitalism. So is it about reproducing production? Yes, because children become future workers in the capitalist ecosystem. They replenish the workforce when workers are retiring. You replace older workers who are retiring with newer workers. That's part of social reproduction. It's also, though, reproducing other mechanisms outside of purely production. It's producing like cultural mechanisms and stuff like that. We'll hear them say that in a second, but we're going to get this super chat from Verdance first. Sorry to go off topic. What is the relation to new inventions since capitalism overproduces? The new things need to be invented, or is that pointless once communism succeeds? They believe, okay, so what you're talking about probably is the idea that will innovation still exist under communism? They believe, and again, I'm not saying whether or not it would. I'm not saying in reality. I'm saying what they believe because that's what we're interested in. They believe that people will be more innovative under communism because they will no longer be oppressed by the capitalist system that demands they produce profits for everything. So they believe that innovation, new inventions will actually be more plentiful in the communal system because people have more time and they can dream and they don't have to worry about paying for housing or paying for food or any of these things, and they can be their true creative artist self. That's what they believe. Whether or not that's true, I personally think that's a bit questionable, but that is what they believe. So I do appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Listen to him explain social reproduction again.
Puts emphasis on how capitalist value is a social form. It's not just a magnitude or a substance. So once you start thinking about value as a social form, that in a way connects with social reproduction theory, because social reproduction theory is concerned with the totality of
did he, and well, I'm going to rewind this and we're going to make sure we get the full definition of this, but this is a question. Did he say that the people in the commune would exchange time and services? I believe he did, Dark One. I don't remember explicitly, but that does make sense to me. So I'm going to give that a tentative yes. But I'm not sure. I don't recall specifically.
Form. It's not just a magnitude or a substance. So once you start thinking about value as a social form, that in a way connects with social reproduction theory, because social reproduction theory is concerned with the totality of capitalist production, essentially how, capitalism, we don't only produce mercancías, commodities, but we also reproduce the labor force, we reproduce life. And you can see that those two elements of production are both structured by the value relation, if we see the value relation in an ample social sense. And so when I say the commune, my theory, to put it maybe isn't it slightly exaggerated language or theorization might be more appropriate. My theorization of the commune is essentially that the commune offers an integral solution to the problems of capitalism, precisely because it promises to abolish the whole range of value relations. And you can look at how that would change what's called productive work in current society, commodity producing work. On the one hand, that kind of work is generally in what I call indirectly social labor. It's labor that's mediated by the social. When in capitalist society we produce things in a social sense, it's part of a social relation, but it's not. But it's mediated by the market. Therefore, it's an indirectly social relation. And a commune proposes to end that indirect sociality. And as John was saying, it's an ex ante planning. In other words, you are producing knowing where it's going. And so that would have the possibility to end exploitation and alienation. The alienation that's always involved in capitalist commodity production, the sites of capitalist commodity production, which is an alienation that's exaggerated by the fact that, of course, in a capitalist society, people don't actually control the conditions of their production. But it also
Okay, as I explained, you may not have been here earlier. We do not care about what the philosophy says. We do not care about what their papers said that they wrote 200 years ago. We care about what they're talking about today. Ideologies evolve. So just because Marx wrote something 200 years ago does not mean that they are still doing that same thing today. Ideologies evolve. Academic philosophy evolves. And so the only thing that we care about is what they are putting forward today. Sometimes the ideas that they're putting forward today are in perfect alignment with what Marx and all the other ones wrote about 200, 150, 50 years ago, whenever. Oftentimes, the ideology is evolving. So it's not to say the ideology is completely different, but it changes, it morphs. It's consistent mostly with past beliefs, but it's its own thing. It is a living, breathing thing. So if all you're doing is studying the academic philosophy of communism, you don't know what's going on today. All these people that want to quote all these academic papers about what Marx wrote and Engels wrote, and then what the Frankfurt School wrote, and who this wrote, and these books from the 70s, okay, that's interesting historical information. If that's all you're reading and that's all you're looking at, it is fundamentally unhinged from what's going on today, because what is going on today is an evolution. It has evolved. It has morphed. It has grown. We call it gain of function Marxism. Some of it is the same and some of it is not the same at all, because that is the way this stuff works. The US military wouldn't exist under communism. It wouldn't exist. It would be abolished. There's your question. Okay, I need you to start asking questions and stop making statements. No one is here to learn from you. You are in my classroom. It's incredibly rude to walk into someone else's classroom and just be saying random shit that you think is true. It's distracting for everyone. Either ask questions or shut the fuck up.
So this is where I say it's an integral solution to the problems of capitalism. The commune offers the possibility of taking reproductive labor out of the household or out of situations of oppression, unpaid, under-recognized reproductive labor.
Excuse me? You are fuck off retarded if you think I'm going to work with Amanda Moore. Amanda Moore can kiss my copious ass. Absolutely not. That's never going to fucking happen. Fuck out of here with that shit.
Domestic labor. It offers to take it out of the sites of oppression and also bring it into a democratically controlled, bring it into the whole of democratically controlled, directly social labor. So that's why I say the commune is an integral solution to the problems of capitalism. And I think there's an increasing awareness in our time that capitalism is not only about exploitation, but it also incorporates a whole range of oppression. So in some sense, I say, how else but by establishing communes can we overcome this whole range of oppressions, which includes exploitation, and it also includes the expropriation of the earth. Actually, in a later moment, the ecological and environmentalist theme is present throughout my book, but I explored it somewhat further in an article I wrote just this summer, in which I look at how communes offer the possibility of overcoming the ecological crisis too, precisely because they, one important thing they do, as Don was saying, is that they return production to use values, kind of connect production and consumption together, so that production does
I don't
not
understand
become
your
this kind of
question,
treadmill senseless production of often useless commodities. And another thing they do is they bring, precisely by abolishing the kind of hierarchical separation of productive and reproductive labor and bringing them into a democratically organized totality, they should, that should give greater protagonism to the production of life, the reproductive labor, which generally has a smaller ecological footprint. So that's the kind of totalizing view. And I was saying this, of course, is related to and directly related to one's experience in Venezuela, also borrowing on reflections from Masaros and other people. One thing that I was saying is a common theme through everybody's intervention has been the theme of strategy. And Sita, when you were presenting the theme of communes, of course, it's important that, you know, one of the unique things about Venezuela, special things about our situation here, is that the commune is part of a strategy of socialist construction that strategy has been developing over the course of the process, which now has more than 20 years of existence. And as people perhaps know,
hang on. What do you believe his answer was? Because if you believe he confirmed they want a social hierarchy, that is wrong. There is no hierarchy under communism. Communism is non-hierarchical. So I'm betting he didn't actually just answer your question. He said when he said useless commodities, no. Commodities means products made under capitalism to make profit. He doesn't mean luxury commodities. What he means is we don't need to produce 37 brands of deodorant. We need one brand of deodorant with 1 cent. Anything beyond one brand and 1 cent of deodorant is too many. That's useless commodities. It's just for profit. We only need one choice in deodorant. We only need one choice in beer. We only need one choice in potato chip. We only need one type of meat. We only need one type of bread, because anything beyond that is useless commodity designed purely for profit. That's what they mean. They do not mean luxury commodities. They mean anything that amounts to choice. Because they believe capitalism created climate change, and therefore if we abolish capitalism, we can undo climate change. In fact, they believe the only way to undo climate change is to abolish capitalism. That's what.
The process originally, you know, Chavez was elected.
Now, we only need one type
initially
of first.
Pursuing a kind of third way socialism, but it was radicalized over time. There was after 2002, there was the process was declared anti-imperialist. Then it declared itself socialist around 2006, and then in 2009 the commune emerges. But the impressive thing here is that the commune is part of this. It's a building block, or Chavez would sometimes say a cell for. It's a cell in a body. And so it's important for us to think about that now, because a commune in itself is not necessarily revolutionary. In fact, like the kibbutz can actually be a counter-revolutionary settler colonialist proposal.
Oh! The kibbutz was counter-revolutionary. Holy shit. The kibbutz is Israeli communism. Everyone understands that, right? Like the kibbutz system in Israel is communism. He just called the kibbutz counter-revolutionary because the kibbutzes are on stolen land. The kibbutzes in Israel are not real communism because Israel stole the land from the Palestinians and privatized it and then put their fucking communal kibbutzes on it, where only Israelis are allowed to be in the communal kibbutzes. And so that makes the kibbutzes on private property, private land ownership. Therefore, the kibbutzes in Israel are not real communism. The kibbutzes are counter-revolutionary. That's what was just said. That's fuck off hilarious. That is hilarious. Listen again.
It's a building block, or Chavez would sometimes say a cell for. It's a cell in a body. And so it's important for us to think about that now, because a commune in itself is not necessarily revolutionary. In fact, like the kibbutz can actually be a counter-revolutionary settler colonialist proposal. So, and Chavez actually said this in the famous moment. He said,
the kibbutz is a counter-revolutionary settler proposal. The kibbutz is a counter-revolutionary settler proposal. What that means is settler means you stole the land from the indigenous people. If you hear the left calling someone a settler or a settler colonist, what they mean is you live on stolen land that you stole from the indigenous people and privatized under capitalism. That's what settler means. So the kibbutzes are a counter-revolutionary settler proposal because they believe Israel stole the land from the indigenous Palestinians, privatized it, and then put their fucking communes on top of it. Again, like, this is just funny.
It's a cell in a body. And so it's important for us to think about that now, because a commune in itself is not necessarily revolutionary. In fact, like the kibbutz can actually be a counter-revolutionary settler colonialist proposal. So, and Chavez actually said this in a famous moment. He said, an isolated commune is counter-revolutionary. And he meant that it's important to be part of a strategic development that goes forward towards socialism.
So an isolated commune is counter-revolutionary because what is an isolated commune? An isolated commune is individual, okay? Hang on, I'm starring the questions in the chat so I can get back to the questions that are being asked. So what they're saying is one commune cannot exist in isolation from other communes because that would make that commune an individualist. It would mean they were operating outside of the collectivist system. Like the left is a collectivist ideology. They are not individualist. They do not support individualism. They do not like individualism. Individualism upholds capitalism. Individualism upholds meritocracy. Therefore, if you have a commune that is operating as an individual instead of part of a greater system, that's the same as like individualism. It's like something that's isolating itself from the larger social ecosystem. So that is bad. And that makes it a counter-revolutionary commune or whatever. So commodities is all products that are made for profit? Yes. Like different brands of bags or deodorants? Exactly. Because they think you only need one bag. You don't need you don't need 37 different bags, Karlyn. You don't need a different bag for literally every single day of the fucking week. You don't need that. That's all just stuff produced for profit to get you to spend money in the capitalist system. But it's the same with like everything. It's the same with like everything in which you have choice. You got it, Dark One. In your view, at their core, do they all mean well? Yes, they do all mean well. And that's possibly the scariest thing you have to wrap your head around. These are not evil people. There are some of them that do evil, crazy things, but like on the whole, the left are not evil people. On the whole, there are always exceptions. There are evil people on the left and there are evil people on the right. Okay, can we all agree on that? There are evil people that exist in all sides. But on the whole, the left are not mean. They're not evil. Actually, they don't strive for power. That's an interpretation that the right has of this because they don't understand the left. The left genuinely believes that they are freeing people from an oppressive system. The left genuinely believes that their system is better. The left genuinely believes that human beings are going to be happier and more fulfilled and better taken care of under their system. They really do believe they are on the right side of history. They believe they are doing good in the world. And that's possibly one of the most difficult things for people to realize because of how this is painted on the right. And I'm not trying to excuse them. I don't agree with their ideas. I think their ideas are garbage. I think that their ideas are going to lead to mass starvation and death. But the way they see things, capitalism is a dying system, which is hurting a lot of people. It's difficult to survive in. People have to work themselves to the bone and it's hard to get a fair shake and all that stuff. They have valid criticisms of the world. It's just that their solution to the problems is completely fuck off unhinged from reality. So they are like if you go to a left event, they're going to be very nice to you. It's a nice environment to be in. They take care of each other. They help each other. They support each other. That's how they do all this protest stuff. It's all self-funded. It's all mutual aid. It's all them helping each other. They really do create community, guys. They do this much better than the right does. So They do genuinely care about people. They do genuinely believe that their way is going to be better for everyone. They do genuinely believe that people are going to be happy, more taken care of, freer, more liberated in their world. These are not mean people. These are not Satanists. These are not people who are trying to get power so they can be an evil dictator. That's not what they're doing. And once people understand that, you start to, that's the really scary part of all this. They believe in what they are doing to the core of their being. Well, they believe it will remove the profit motive, which will remove conflict. Aha. See, you're welcome. Appreciate that. Guys, if I've taught you something on this stream today, if you have learned something new that you didn't know before you joined the stream today, you can feel free to show your appreciation in the form of gifted channel memberships. I love gifted channel memberships because they not only fund the work I'm doing, they also help other people in the stream. Yeah, The Giver is a great example of this. Yes, The Giver is an excellent example of one of the ways they envision this all turning out. That's a really good one. The book is also great too. But guys, the gifted channel memberships really do help me out. I am 100% independently funded. I cannot hold these public classes on the internet if you guys don't fund my work. Can we get up to 50 gifted channel memberships? Can we get to our halfway point on our goal? We got Derpy Dan in with a gifted channel membership. Thank you so much, Derpy Dan. Can we get 13 more gifted channel memberships before we continue so we can get halfway to our goal and continue making progress? We're about halfway through the presentation. Can we get there? If we can't, maybe I won't continue the stream. So we might even have to end early because of the Kino Casino. But do you guys want to keep going? Can we get to 50 gifted channel memberships so I can keep going with the stream? One in the class if I've taught you something new today that you didn't know before you got here. Two in the chat if that hasn't happened yet. Totally fine to be a slower learner, Dark One. Just ask questions. Just keep asking questions. I'll keep teaching you. Don't worry about it. We have plenty of people who are slow learners that it just takes time. No worries. Guys, if you put a 1 in the chat, can you please gift some channel memberships? That would be rad. That would be rad. W to Chicken Patty. Thank you for gifting a channel membership. It's only $5, guys. Only $5. Helps out the channel. Keeps me funded. I can't do this if I'm not funded. I take no political money. I have no political masters. I work for you guys. And if you guys don't want me working for you, if there are only 2 people who want me to continue going with the class, then I don't need to keep going. We need 12 more gifted channel memberships or I'm not going to keep going. So you guys decide. Yo, old sub in with a gifted channel membership. W's to old sub. We need 11 more, guys. I'm just keeping us on track. Yeah, chicken patty is not the same as chicken spawn. 2 different people. Guys, no memberships, no stream. No memberships, no stream. No memberships, no stream. If you can't afford to, that's totally fine. I'm asking the people who can afford to. Because I know there are plenty of people in the chat who can afford to. Guys, if everyone in the chat right now just gave 1 gifted channel membership, we would knock it out of the park. We'd already be done. W's in the chat, Lisa Old Granny with 5 gifted channel memberships. Thank you so much, Lisa Old Granny. We got Origami for a gifted channel membership. W's in the chat to Origami. Guys, we need 5 more. We need 5 more. Oh, we just got one from Duchess. Hang on. We got Duchess in there with a W. 4 more, guys. 4 more people giving 1 gifted channel membership. And we will continue the stream. I am not above blackmail and guilt tripping, guys. We haven't covered the AI stuff a lot. but the left has videos on it. I would go to Haymarket Books' YouTube channel and look up AI, and you'll be able to find presentations of them talking about it. Guys, we need 4 gifted channel memberships to continue the stream. If you want me to continue the stream, then someone's got to pony up. Or 4 people. 4 people giving 1 channel membership and the stream continues. It's entirely up to you guys. Lisa! Lisa comes in and takes care of it for everyone. Lisa O'Grady, another $5. W's, Lisa. W's. We got D Rice in here gifting a channel membership. W's to you, my friend. I really appreciate it. All right, we can keep going now. Thank you.
One little thing I want to add to that is the importance of history. I think that the part, and that actually enters in both the work of Karlyn and Michelle, the importance of recovering emancipatory traditions and going forward with them. I have a particular take on that, which I think is actually integral to the Bolivarian process. The Bolivarian process is called the Bolivarian process precisely because it tries to recover the legacy of Bolivar and take it forward in the present. And that, of course, has a specific bearing on the Commune, because the Commune in Venezuela reaches back to Maroon traditions of emancipation here, Maroon resistance here in Venezuela. Maroon communities were called Cumbes. And there's also a huge indigenous legacy of communal resistance and communal self-governed autonomies here. So the Commune here must connect with and carry those forward.
Thanks for the Cash App or Venmo. I appreciate it.
That's actually one of the more perhaps exotic to some readers. Will find that my reference to what I call revolutionary romanticism, because for me, romanticism is about this revolutionary.
Dumb phone's in. Dumb phone. I feel like I haven't. Where the fuck have you been, bro? I feel like I haven't seen you in a moment. W's in the chat to dumb phone, making a triumphant return.
Use of the past to go forward.
Thank you, bro.
Which I would actually say is quite common, not exotic at all in the Bolivarian process. And it's actually integral to a way of thinking, a form of revolutionary historiography. The use of the past to go forward appeals to it as a kind of counter. I see it as almost a necessary solution, or it's like an Ariadne's thread to lead us out of the labyrinth of the idea that capitalism itself might be progressive. The last thing I was going to say was about the critical potential of theory. I think that any theory should allow you to come back. A theory is an abstraction from reality, and then it allows you to go back and apply it to reality and see how reality holds up to it. And in this case, in my book, I developed a theory in the first chapters, and then of course there are these chapters that are kind of chronicles of visits to the communes. And at the end, there's some moments in which I attempt to apply the theory critically to the communes. And one sense in which I do that is ask the question, in what sense are the communes actually advancing towards socialism? Which that necessarily means part of the strategic element is that the communes have to work to hegemonize the whole economy, the whole society, and they also have to work towards the abolition of the state. And I explore that and the different efforts to do that, and to what extent
communes have to work towards the abolition of the state is what he just says. I want to make sure people understand when they're talking about the state, they mean the capitalist state, the capitalist government. Hey, W's in the chat for Lily Hopper. What a cool name. Thank you so much for the gifted channel membership. Really, really appreciate it.
Society. And they also have to work towards the abolition of the state. And I explore that and the different efforts to do that, and to what extent it's succeeded. And all one can say for now is it's a highly contested field. The other thing, of course, is this question about the reproductive labor. To what extent have the communes actually emancipated social reproductive labor, which of course is a typical side of...
Okay, when they say reproductive labor, what do they mean? Pop quiz for the chat. When they say reproductive labor, what do they mean? Have communes emancipated people from reproductive labor? What do they mean? When someone is doing reproductive labor, what do they mean? They mean mothers. They mean mothers. They mean having babies. They mean having kids. They mean the unpaid labor of having and raising the children in the capitalist ecosystem. When they say reproductive labor, what they mean is men go into the capitalist workforce and they get paid all the money and have all the power, while women, because of the gender binary, get relegated to the home where they are in charge of doing the unpaid reproductive labor of having children and raising children in the nuclear family. It's not necessarily just staying home, because they also believe women are oppressed if they have to have kids and also have a job outside the home because of the capitalist system, again, oppressing them. So yeah, when they're talking about reproductive labor, they're talking about the unpaid labor of having children in the capitalist ecosystem to feed the system and to continue to replenish the workforce, with the emphasis being on unpaid.
Contested field. The other thing, of course, is this question about the reproductive labor. To what extent have the communes actually emancipated social reproductive labor, which of course is a typical side of gender oppression and racial oppression? And there's a mixed record on.
Reproductive labor is gender oppression because it forces women to do unpaid labor to raise the next generation of proletarian workers.
With some curious things, like some communes, one commune has actually made it part of its discourse, but so far it's not actually the commune that's probably made the most concrete steps. But my general sense is that there's still a long way to go.
Yeah, I almost stopped to explain this, average person, but you did it, so I'm going to highlight your chat. This will be confusing for newbies, but men and women are social classes to these people, not biological realities. Men are the class of people who perform productive labor being in the capitalist system in the workplace. Women are the people who perform reproductive labor, that is, they have the children that feed the capitalist ecosystem.
That area in the effort to emancipate social reproductive labor. So that pretty much rounds up what I want to say in this first intervention. I'll be interested to know what we can say in the discussion period about the theme of communes and what we have in common about that, which I think is a great deal.
My dog.
Thank you so much, Chris. Now we are going to open for a second round. So everybody is going to be joining us here on the screen. Oh, that's wonderful. Michelle is here.
All right. Looks like they're getting into their discussion, and this is really where we get a lot of the good stuff out of it. I want to just do a quick time check because we will tonight be watching the Kino Casino. Now, I have the stream scheduled to start at 8:30, but quite frankly, the Kino Casino doesn't actually start until 9. So we technically have another hour to get through this presentation, but and I do think we'll be able to do it. I think we're going to be able to get through the rest of this presentation before we watch the Kino Casino. I just want to do a quick time check to let people know we are totally on track. We're going to eat our vegetables and watch the rest of this presentation, and then we're going to shut down this stream, and then we're going to go watch the Kino Casino, okay? So we are perfectly on time. No one needs to worry.
Here. We thought that she might have to leave, but she's here. So what we were thinking is that we would each take a round of 5 minutes, because of course we probably just touched the tip of the iceberg in relation to our each person's reflections on the issue of the communes, right? So if each person wants to add a little bit more or respond to each other's comments, there's also some comments. There's a comment that we have more or less read from Nicholas Vargas about the commune not being viable, but also he connects it to the issue of the state. So that is one question that could be addressed, but I will also maybe be throwing in some other questions soon in between the different rounds. So I guess we'll go first. I don't know, Michelle, if you have to leave, or maybe we go with you now and then we pick up with John.
Sure. I won't take my full 5 minutes because I do have to pop off. But these presentations are really wonderful, and I think they particularly
don't even get that much from Emmy O'Brien.
Attention to
That's
the
too bad.
strategic value of the commune as a practical activity under even in the conditions of racial capitalism, and as a strategy of resistance. And that intrigues me, and it's quite different in my work. the kinds of communes, as we sometimes call them, that I grew up in were collective housing arrangements, in punk and anarchist communities. And I became quite cynical about their sort of revolutionary potential in a meaningful sense. But I liked the collectivization of household labor. And in my work, I theorize the commune as the emergence of a communist society. So as necessarily entailing the overthrow of racial capitalism, the destruction of the state,
Michelle, Emmy O'Brien is saying it. We need to overthrow the state. The state means the capitalist government. The state means the United States government. The communes will come first, and that will lead to the overthrow of racial capitalism, the overthrow of private property ownership, the destruction of the state, the destruction of the government. I need everyone to really hear this. When they say the state, they mean the United States government. They mean the Constitution. There's a documentary on YouTube about the kibbutz system. Go watch that. Or go find the episode where we watched it. We watched the whole thing. You can find our episode on it. It's blatantly communist.
Of household labor. And in my work, I theorize the commune as the emergence of a communist society. So as necessarily entailing the overthrow of racial capitalism, the destruction of the state, the collectivization and communizing of means of production, and that as a unit of social reproduction, it really lends itself to collective self-governance, to mass participation in the management of society. And so I think about the sort of commune as a revolutionary unit of social reproduction that emerges in a communist context.
So again, what Emmy O'Brien is saying here is the commune will emerge during the revolution in order to basically create the values that are going to form the building blocks of the communist society that will exist after they overthrow the government. So that's the order that these things, like, guys, basically, here's the thing. What we're watching in this presentation, and this presentation was a couple years ago, so this is not brand new. They have a bunch of people that have all tried to start creating these commune-like environments in the United States. There are all sorts of these groups all over the United States that are trying to create communes, essentially. The guy in the presentation wrote a whole fucking book about here are examples of communes that are existing right now. They had that Jackson Collective thing, that the Jackson Collective is a commune that exists in the United States right now, or it's a commune-like system that they're trying to create. By the way, the anti-ICE organizing and the signal groups could also be argued to be an example of a commune-like system, of a revolutionary system, of an insurgent system. It doesn't just have to be you get a bunch of land and you create your own little, like, real commune. A revolutionary system, a system that is engaging in the overthrow of the capitalist system, can also do the social reproduction of communism, okay? So all of this anti-ICE organizing shit, all of the rapid response groups, all of the mutual aid funding that's connected to that, all of the signal groups, it's doing the same thing. I really want people to understand this. It is functioning in the same way. Does everyone get this? 1 in the chat if you understand what I just said, 2 in the chat if you're confused. So the order that Emmy O'Brien, who has literally written a book about the communist revolution, will say, Emmy O'Brien would say, the commune comes first. The revolutionary commune, the insurgent commune, the commune that is established in the glorious overthrow of the state, the capitalist government, all that stuff. Tammy, I need you to ask a question then. That will come first. The commune will come first. The commune will create the values that will socially reproduce the communist society after the United States government is overthrown. So Once we start seeing these commune-like environments pop up, that is an indication to these people that the revolution is not far off, because the commune comes before the revolution. The commune is like pre-revolution. The commune is how the revolution happens. The commune is what facilitates the revolution. The commune is what creates the revolution. Does everyone understand? Again, I'm sorry to ask again. 1 in the chat if you understand what I just said. 2 in the chat if you're confused. And if you're confused, that's totally fine. I need you to ask a question, though, so that I understand how you're confused. Okay, but that's not a question, so I need you to ask a question. You get it now, Tammy? Cool. I'm glad me continuing to talk explained it. Hey, thank you so much for the 10 spot, Dark One. I really appreciate you. Would the revolutionary networking be? Yes. Yes. Maddox. Yes. That's exactly right. Revolutionary networking, which is the signal groups, which is the rapid response groups, that would definitely be an early, like they're starting, it's revolutionary networking is getting organized, right? It's getting organized. Yo, great Otis for 50. Can't give memberships, but for Kino stream. Thank you so much, great Otis. I really appreciate the super chat. Super, super generous, bro. You rock. Listen. Emmy O'Brien's going to explain it again.
As the emergence of a communist society, so is necessarily entailing the overthrow of racial capitalism, the destruction of the state, the
Hang on, we're going to go back a little bit more. I want people to hear this again. Emmy O'Brien is going to say the communes come before the revolution.
Activity under even in the conditions of racial capitalism, and it's a strategy of resistance, and that intrigues me, and it's quite different in my work. The kinds of communes, as we sometimes call them, that I grew up in were collective housing arrangements, in punk and anarchist communities, and I became quite cynical about their sort of revolutionary potential in a meaningful sense. But I liked the collective.
Okay, what you're trying to do then, the problem that you're having is you believe that our job is to agree with them. Our job is not to agree with them. Our job is to understand them. So what you need to do is learn to compartmentalize. It does not matter if you understand why the commune would come. Well, okay, let me rephrase. It does not matter if you agree with them that the commune comes before your own child. By the way, they don't believe the children are their children. They believe the children belong to everyone. That's why. What matters is you understand what they believe, not whether or not you agree with it. You agreeing with it is immaterial. It is not what we are talking about. It is about understanding what they believe. And just because you understand what they believe does not mean you agree with it.
Of household labor, and in my work, I theorize the commune as the emergence of a communist society.
No, average person said I do prefer channel memberships. If you're going to donate on YouTube, I definitely prefer channel memberships on YouTube. But yeah, if you want to join my Substack, you can become a member on my Substack, $8 a month, $80 a year. That's a great way to do it. You get access to all the same benefits that YouTube channel members get. The reason we do YouTube channel memberships is that they're fun. And I like that it reaches out to people who wouldn't necessarily have the ability to afford it and stuff like that. But listen, whatever works best for you. If you want to donate Cash App and Venmo, you can do that. If you want to donate through the Substack, you can do that. There are many other ways you can donate. The reason I emphasize the YouTube channel memberships is I like that it brings the community of people together and it gets more people involved that maybe wouldn't have been able to get a channel membership on their own. But how you guys want to donate is really up to you. And I appreciate all forms of donation. You guys keep me in business. Beggars can't be choosers,
necessarily entailing the overthrow of racial capitalism, the destruction of the state, the collectivization and communizing of means of production, and that as a unit of social reproduction, it really lends itself to collective self-governance, to mass participation in the management of society.
I'm working on
so
the
I
triangle.
think about the sort of commune as a revolutionary unit of social reproduction that emerges in a communist context.
The commune is a revolutionary unit of social reproduction that emerges in a communist context. Yo, we got a super chat from Dark One. I never sent super chats before, and in the first one, I wanted to say a big thank you for everything you've been doing. Keep it up. Thank you so much, Dark One. I really appreciate that. That's very, very flattering. Thank you for the super chat.
And so my link, I see in the Q&A, someone was arguing that I was conflating the assembly and the commune. The link is that I don't know how to get there. And, these works and Cooperation Jackson and the Bolivarian Project in Venezuela are very exciting and I think worth paying very close attention to. I don't know how to get there and don't claim to have a revolutionary strategy, but collectivization that does happen in the midst of sustained rebellions, I think is worth paying very close attention to. And I would argue that the moments of family abolition happen in the context of sustained rebellions. And
family abolition happens during the rebellion. Family abolition happens during the revolution. Why does family abolition happen during the revolution? Because when you're fighting the revolution to overthrow the capitalist state, you need to leave your private household to go to the revolutionary encampment where you will all live together in the commune, where you are fighting the glorious struggle to overthrow the government. And as you are living together, you will need to cook for one another and take care of one another and engage in life in a communal way. And that will take you outside of the nuclear family. It will take you outside of your private family unit and force you to live in the commune type environment. So what Emmy O'Brien is saying, again, the act of rebellion or revolution will create the communes. The communes will take people away from the nuclear family. Therefore, the nuclear family will be abolished in the overthrow of the capitalist state. Does everyone understand? I know we're getting nitpicky into the mechanics of this, but it's important to understand so that we can start to identify things as they pop up in society.
And that's part of what makes them so transformative for their participants, so joyful, and one of the only things that makes rebellion sustainable in any particular sense. They cannot be sustainable unless they're victorious, but that the extent to which they're able to collectivize social reproduction is about meeting people's collective needs and care.
The rebellion will only be successful if it abolishes the nuclear family and changes the social reproduction to reproduce communal values over capitalist values. Do you guys see? The communist revolution will only be successful if they are able to get people to leave the nuclear family and join the rebellion commune.
Needs wall in rebellion, wall in struggle in a way that's able to sustain.
There is no reality in which you would be part of the socialist revolution if you don't want to be a part of the commune. There is no reality, because that means you wouldn't really be a part of the socialist revolution.
The struggle moving forward. So the extent to which I sort of try to draw a link between the future and the present, those are the points of the present that kind of really interest me. So I guess I'll just close out with a couple of questions for Kali and Chris in particular. And so both of you, are talking about communes in the present. And I'm wondering particularly how consumption works, right? So cooperative labor is a very important part, as I understand, of what's happening in Cooperation Jackson and in Venezuela. But communes or nothing makes the distinction between the commune and the cooperative, the commune as a site including of collective consumption and social reproduction. And so I'm thinking a little, I'd love to hear in more concrete terms what that actually looks like in people's lives. So thank you, everyone. And I'll keep listening, but have to pop off.
Thank you, Emmy O'Brien.
Thank you. So we will go with John. And by the way, John, of course, as we know, new meseros, and there's
More than you can ever dare imagine. How many people are actually part of this movement? How about every professor your kid has in college? How about 90% of the teachers in public schools? How about the 80,000 people that are in rapid response signal groups in Minneapolis right now? How about every single person engaging in anti-ICE organizing all over the fucking country? How about every single person engaging in mass protests at the No Kings protests? More people are involved in this than you will ever dare fucking dream. Yeah, I don't give a fuck what you think. I don't get. How about more than 1%? Shut the fuck up and listen. No one cares what you think. I don't even know who you are. This is your first ever chat in. Bro, I need you to pay attention to this short instructional video. It's just for you. Pay close attention.
You take your top lip and connect it to your bottom lip, you will shut the fuck up. Sometimes shutting the fuck up is the best thing you can do.
No one cares what you think, bro.
a amount of people asking about meseros, also how to read meseros, because it's indeed very hard to read meseros. So, John.
Yo, we got another super chat. Thank you. Thank you, Scott. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a minute. How and when does the whole Vanguard element play in? Okay. The whole idea of a Vanguard party is the party that will lead the revolution. There are several videos, or there are several, excuse me, not videos. There are several groups that kind of want to be the Vanguard group. The Party for Socialism and Liberation definitely wants to be the Vanguard group. The DSA wants to be the Vanguard group. The Revolutionary Communists of America want to be the Vanguard group. Antifa is completely opposed to all the Vanguard groups. So for all those groups that want to be the group that's organizing to lead the revolution, Antifa is opposed to all that bullshit. Antifa doesn't believe in Vanguard groups. Antifa doesn't want people joining Vanguard groups. Antifa is completely non-hierarchical. So, like, if you have like a Vanguard group, they believe that creates a hierarchy and all that stuff. And so they are completely opposed to all that shit. So how does it work out? There are some groups that are trying to actively organize to be the Vanguard group. They are fighting with people on the far left who don't want Vanguard groups to exist and actively argue against Vanguard groups. It's going to work itself out, but I don't know exactly how it's going to work itself out. I think Antifa would probably end up winning because they're the ones that are willing to get more violent than the other, but who the fuck knows? Anyway, thanks, Scott, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yeah, Antifa believes that Vanguardism is a form of hierarchy.
If you want to go ahead.
Yes. Well, I was thinking in terms of what everyone said, and I'm learning a great deal from our discussion. But I was thinking about how in the strike at the Helm speech at the end, Chavez insisted on commune or nothing. And Chris talks about that in his book. But it was really very remarkable. He's saying that this is the only path, the only viable path and strategy in Venezuela, at least, to create a socialism. That and in saying the commune or nothing, he was implicitly saying that the state had to direct its resources to the communes. It had to direct its resources to the population organized on that basis, that communes had to be set up almost like the pores of a new society. And the state had a role in this, but it also meant, in a sense, at least for Meseros and I think for Chavez as well, it meant a kind of long-term withering away of the state and creating the communes as another political basis. So this is something that I think is very, very important, and that came up in the discussion that Chris mentioned at the end, the whole issue of the withering away of the state, which doesn't mean eliminating political organization. It means eliminating the state as an alienated body above society, controlling society, and the only way to really create substantive democracy, I think Chavez came to believe, and to create socialism was by basing it in the commune. So I think it's very important to try to think all of that as connected, and that the communes themselves represent a new way of organizing the entire political structure of society. But it can't be a single commune. It can't be a single commune. As Chris said, they have to be integrated. It has to be developed as a much larger social project. And this reminds me of how Marx dealt with the Paris Commune. All of these things are brought together, and it's surprising to me that Chavez initiated that call and insisted on Maduro, and particularly carrying it out, and that it actually happened, that the communes did grow in this period. It's very remarkable. And if you looked at the strike at the Helm speech, you will find that Chavez was criticizing the members of the government who were actually hesitating. They were not really buying into his notion of the commune. And so his strike at the Helm speech was really a very frank criticism aimed at the government, speaking to the people, but also looking at the contradictions within the Bolivarian process and state. And that was something that I witnessed, or at least had a sense of, when I was there in 2011 with the government. They weren't all buying into the commune. And maybe the government never really did, but they gave enough resources, enough legitimation to allow populations, the people themselves, to take this into their hands and create something new. So it's a very remarkable process. Thank you.
So we go with Kali. If you want, Michelle also left some questions there for you, or if you want to make any reflection in relation to the interventions by other folks on the panel. Kali, I think you are muted.
I said I'm making a request that we have to do this again.
Has to be done.
Because, every question would take some time to really unpack.
That's right.
But let me say, I think relative to Michelle's question, it's I would say our view that the commune and the cooperatives should be distinct and viewed distinctly, but they have to be interconnected. And for us, that I think that we have learned, particularly from elements of our experience through the pandemic, that they have to be both theoretically kind of connected, but they're more importantly practically connected. And the question around social reproduction, like that is key to this permanence that you spoke to earlier, right? And I think John was speaking about how do we make this permanent. A lot of times, the explosion of mutual aid and the explosions in the experiments that we see in broad radical kind of communal practices and democratization. One of the reasons that they're not able to sustain themselves for long periods of time because they don't pay adequate attention to these social reproductive questions, right? And it's only if really, we would say in our experience, building upon that you can make it permanent, and you have to collectivize that. And a lot of the defaults wind up happening, like when they return back primarily to their kind of quote unquote, I hate that word, but I'm gonna use it in this context, the traditional kind of gendered practice and expression, right? And
Traditional gendered practice and expression. This guy is a seasoned fucking communist. This guy understands that capitalism created the gender binary which oppresses women by having them do the unpaid labor in the workplace of having and raising the next generation of proletarian workers. Anyone who says the far left is stupid has never listened to the far left. They are meticulously thinking about not only how do we go about the task of overthrowing the federal government, but what values do we need to create before we even have the revolution in order to start to create a new form of social reproduction that will lead to a communal system. These are not stupid people. These are not lazy people. These are highly intellectual people who think through every single part of how they're going to create their new world. And that's why it's so terrifying, because if you think these people are stupid, you dismiss them. When you listen to them, you realize they're not fucking stupid. Thank you so much, Verdin. I really do appreciate the super chat. Have I run across any instances where the subsequent actions of a person they praise caused them to label them enemies of the revolution? You know, I haven't seen that specifically, but like when someone starts to cause problems, they basically get removed. So like Robin DiAngelo, who the left or who the right thinks is responsible for everything. Robin DiAngelo was saying a lot of really inconvenient things for the left. So have you seen Robin DiAngelo show up for years? No, you haven't, because Robin DiAngelo was basically removed from any position of influence because she was saying too many inconvenient things. Ibram X. Kendi, Nick mentioned in the chat, another example of that. Ibram X. Kendi was used by the left for years and years and years, held up as their poster child. He fucked up, though. He fucked up one too many times. And so when he fucked up, guess what? His little research center at Boston University went away. And now he's relegated to like an HBCU. No one even hears from him anymore. He's not relevant anymore. So it's like they don't necessarily become enemies of the revolution, but like they will be removed from any position of influence or power, if that makes sense.
We're not able to sustain.
Guys, we are getting up on the time where we're going to have to switch over to the Kino Casino. I do want to spend a couple more minutes listening to this, and then maybe in about 5 or 6 minutes, switch over to do the other stream for the Kino Casino. So it doesn't look like we'll get through the full thing today, but I do want to thank everyone for asking such amazing questions, because the reason I've been yapping so much is you guys are actually asking really good questions. This will be your last chance to donate to the channel membership goal on this stream. We aren't the whole way there. And I will be continuing to beg for money on the Kino Casino stream. So if we don't meet the goal here, we got to meet it there. So if you want to just get the goal out of the way, now is going to be your last chance to send in channel memberships. And if we don't meet the goal, I'm going to keep begging on the Kino Casino stream, and that's going to suck for everyone. So
in the broad holding of the space of, who's going to take care of the children, who's minding and taking care of the elderly, right? Who is making sure that there's healthcare, there's food production, there's
no, they don't care about that. No, they don't care about stealing money. They care about, are you helping to advance our cause of revolution, or are you not helping to advance our cause? They don't give a fuck about stealing money. They don't believe in private property ownership. But are you being a productive, contributing member of the collective, or are you fucking shit up for us?
Things that enable us all to participate, right, and to show up and be at our fullest in any engagement. That work is going to have to be done by somebody, and we have to create structures and practices and processes to make sure that that doesn't fall upon the same people who traditionally are excluded to those particular roles and how they've been genderized throughout the course of, I'm not going to say history, because in no society pre-capitalist era was exactly the same. That sometimes get generalized. But in this more common era, the colonial era and the elements of what are now being called the post-colonial era, where there's a more standard dynamic structured around capitalist relations that we all are kind of embedded in. And one of the things that we've been trying to like both put in practice and theorize to kind of do some of this operationalize it is what we call the build and fight formula on our end. So I'll just do a little introduction of that. And what we're most interested here is making an argument, primarily to left forces in North America, primarily the United States, in Canada, but further afield, that we kind of have to move out of this kind of deficit mentality and thinking that we don't have enough, or there are not enough people involved in the movement, quote unquote, and to ask folks to kind of step back and look at all the things that we are doing that are rooted in concrete practice in regards to mutual aid, in regards to efforts at food security.
Did you want me to add that to memberships? I can. For sure, I can add that to memberships.
Worker self-organization in various forms, that we have to put those different pieces together. And one of the underscoring things that has to link those are very deliberate and intentional practices of social reproduction that form a glue, or could form a glue and have to form a glue, to enable the liberatory potential of our self-organization around these things, to remove us from capitalist relations of production, particularly those aiming towards the production of commodities, more towards the production of various use values that we can exchange amongst ourselves very intentionally and deliberately, which will require higher degrees of planning. And that is where, for us, one of the core components of this build and fight formula are you can call them people's assemblies or kind of planning councils. But those elements are going to be needed in order for us to really realize the potential of the commune. And cooperatives to us, just so folks are clear, cooperatives to us fit into this realm of worker self-organization. And we see that cooperatives are just one form of worker self-organization. There are other forms that have to be utilized in different contexts and in environments, but they have to come together and work in complementary ways. And so one of the pieces that we've been kind of pushing for since our beginning, right, is trying to, in the U.S. context, trying to reunite the labor movement, the trade union movement, with the cooperative movement, and not have them view each other as competitive forces against each other, but things that need to complement each other. And we're trying to push, in particular, the trade union movement to think beyond just contracts and working conditions, but to think about how do you democratize, all of the workspaces that we inhabit and have built. How do we democratize?
We're trying to encourage the labor movement to think beyond worker conditions and think about instead, how do we create a socialist society? That's what he's saying. We're trying to push the labor movement on this, the unions, to think beyond just about your selfish worker conditions. How do we create socialism for everyone?
There's competitive.
This was 3 years ago.
Forces against each other, but things that need to complement each other. And we're trying to push, in particular, trade union movement to think beyond just contracts and working conditions, but to think about how do you democratize, all of the workspaces that we inhabit and have built. How do we democratize those to the fullest and make them common, if not communal, property to be able to move us past capitalist relations of production? But we think that there's a process by how you go about engaging and building these communes. We think that has to kind of start on the local level, but it cannot and must not stay there because, as we know from our experience in the Deep South, facing the terror of white supremacy, those can be easily bombed out if they're not connected and federated in various ways to get us towards new relations and a new system of governance that I think we'll have to move to some degree towards in phases towards the withering of the state. I don't think that's going to happen, given our context, kind of automatically, but it's something we're going to have to be very intentional and deliberate about deconstructing at every step of the road.
All right, guys, that is going to have to do it for us for today. As a reminder, if this is your first stream of mine, one of the very best things you can do is head over to my Substack, Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. Click on the new to my work section. Make sure you watch the re-education class and anti-communist introduction to the far left. W's to Sarah, sending in one more channel membership, getting us up to 69. Nice. And we will continue to be collecting channel memberships on our subsequent streams. So, guys, get those. We're going to meet this fucking channel membership goal today. I'm not going to shut up until we meet this channel membership goal today. But, guys, we do have to call it a day. We're going and watching the casino. W's to Sarah for another gifted channel membership, getting us up to 70. All right, we ruined the 69, Sarah, but that's all right. That's all right. It's one more, and that's cool. Guys, I'm going to put the link for the Kino Casino stream in the chat. If you are watching on Rumble, just stick around. I have to set up a new stream on Rumble. But if you stick around the channel, give me like 3 minutes, I will be setting up a new stream on Rumble. But we got to shut down this stream. We're going to go watch the casino and continue to watch the Quartering and Chrissy Mayer get their asses handed to them. And I thought I changed the title of this, but apparently I didn't. But I should have. Anyway, guys, I'll see you on the other side. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.